Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
Welcome, everybody, to Iconoclasm. Nope. 1 second, I gotta fix it. Thank you. Thank you very much for getting rid of that. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's time for another fun one. Let's do it. Let's get it done. And what are we going to do today? Let's give you a little rundown. I want to mostly take your phone calls. We entitled this one episode number 7, Self-Fulfilling Prophecy, and April Fools. It is April Fool's Day. Happy April Fools. Hopefully you don't get tricked today, but you probably will. I had one of the funnier, well, it's kind of mean, but at the same time, I like to tell the story. My friend did this to our other friend for April Fools. It's kind of a funny joke if you want to play it on somebody. Is he went on Craigslist and made a post saying that he was selling his car for really cheap because he had to, make rent or something. So my buddy happened to have a BMW. So this post on Craigslist said, "Hey, selling my BMW. I need to sell it immediately. $10,000 cash only." So then he got calls all day long on April Fools from people trying to buy his car. He had eventually shut off his phone because too many people were calling him. Pretty funny, though, because if you do it to somebody else, they can't take the ad off of Craigslist because they don't know who posted it. Just a funny idea. Funny idea, but I don't recommend doing it. I wouldn't do it to anybody. Anyway, let's get on with the show. I wanted to show you this, of course, if you want to support the show. You want to do $Jeranism at Cash App, that'd be great. Or you can go over to my store and get a hat, NASA hat. You can get a USB. You can get access to the library. All that fun stuff is available to you. You just head over to shop.jeranism.com, and that is the place to be. You can get the beanie here. You can get the hat here. You can get the combo pack here. Free shipping everywhere in the USA because that's how I roll. And that is cool. And then also we've got the... I don't have that ready. Nope, I don't have that ready. We've also got all these, the USB, the books, the Jeranism content, all that fun stuff is right there. So what are we doing today? Let's get into it. What I want to start with is just a little chat, and I'll kind of play into the title of the show. But let me get this up here one more time. And there we go. And we'll take your calls the second half. So wait for hour number 2. And really what I'm looking for with the calls is, well, you can talk about anything you want. That's not going to bother me. But I do want to talk about this idea of prophecy. And just so people understand that my feeling on it is that you can't have prophecy. Not in the world like we have. Number one, we've got a elite that plays into prophecy. So there is no prophecy that could possibly be considered as proving something, right? So hopefully you understand that, is that we can't just, let's say the Bible said, oh, there'll be a meteor that will drop on such and such date and time in such and such location. Well, even if that happened, how are we supposed to know that it wasn't orchestrated or planned or brought into fruition, right? So that's a problem. People don't see those things as problems. They don't want to see them as problems, but they are. They are glaring problems in the fact that we could never prove those particular things. You just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it at all, even if you tried. And so therefore, if we're told in the Bible, prove all things, but we can't, that would be an issue. It would be an issue. For sure, that would be an issue. Let me see here real quick. I'm trying to figure out why I don't have this working. Where's the thumbnail? Okay, there. That's good. That'll work for now. And then we've got the YouTube chat's going to be on the screen. We're going to put Rokfin on the screen here in a second. Rokfin, hello. How are you? Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you're fantastic. And oh, is my volume low again? Yesterday somebody said my volume was low. Sorry, no camera today. You'll have to deal with that. My good looks are just too much for the stream today, and I feel like just kicking back and kind of being in relaxed mode. So you get the cartoon me, and he's actually equally cool. He's also artificial intelligence. He can. I've taught him through artificial intelligence. He's actually evolving as we speak right now, which is impressive. Let's grab this. So what I want to start with is the creed. Somebody called in on Thursday asking about the creed, and so I'm going to kind of read through it, put it on the screen. We'll read through it, and I'll give you see if I want to update anything. I do know there's a couple things I want to update, but I want to make it very clear what I'm doing, so we'll go through that. Then I will tie that into a little bit about prophecy and about the fools that have fallen for it, at least in my opinion. Again, please recognize that everything on this is my opinion. You might find other channels. There's other channels who have done 15 shows about me in a row because they're so sad that I don't have the same beliefs in the Yahweh creature that they do. And that's fine by me, but it's not fine by them. See the difference? I don't have to attack other channels. I'm just here to report to you my opinion, period. That's it. Other channels cannot stand that. How dare you have your own opinion? Don't you follow authority? Don't you know that we have to do this, we have to do that? No, I don't know any of that. I do what I want. And that's just the way it goes. So, either take it or leave it. If you're here to hear somebody, tell you what you already believe and tell you how right you are, it's just not the right channel. There's other channels that will do that. Trust me, many of them, but it's just not going to come from me. So if you want to be challenged on some things and have some questions about some things and leave some open-ended things, that's here. That's what we do here. Okay. And let me put this in, but I certainly will never tell you to bow down to some authority, some man in a dress, some priest, some pastor, nothing like that. I think that is all tricks of men. And if you're following around listening to the words of men, well, then you've fallen for one of those tricks. So if you then say, well, Jared, you're a man, we're listening to you. Totally different. I'm giving you my honest opinion here. I'm going to just tell you my opinion, and you can take it or leave it. So it's much different than the other people who will attack you and your channel if you don't agree with them. And that is the biggest flag of somebody. That's not somebody who's right. Somebody who's right is attacking you that just doesn't make sense to me at all. So let's get this up here. Okay, good. Hello, everybody in the Rokfin. We've got three big buddy Bob says, hello, chat. Have a great show. Thank you very much. Hello, Two Trees. Much love to everyone from Nuba. How's everybody over here? Let's see who's in the house. Oh, Dirt's in the house. Dirt's in the house. Who else we got? Cornfed? Oh, that's Cornfield. Like, folks. Yeah, I agree. Hit like 3 times, would you? Let's see here. We've got Michael Joshua says the Bible says do not fear 365 times. I don't know. Does it say that? I do not know that. What would that mean, though? Again, so here's the things I just want to be careful about. What things are proof of something? Because we are going to sound like Globers if we start saying, oh, well, the Earth can't be flat because of this reason, and therefore it's a globe. It's just ridiculous. So the same thing is kind of true if we're going to say, oh, well, the Bible says this 365. Oh, this must be true then. God must have wrote it. The only person who can make a word appear 365 times in a book would be God. Anybody else couldn't do that. I didn't get last night's notification. Last night was what show? The Jeranism show? There was a notification, yes. Are you talking about with YouTube? The best place to get notified is Telegram, t.me/Jeranism show. That is the place to be if you know what's good for you. see what else we got here. Anybody else? What's going on with this thing? It's frozen. Thank you. It's back. What else we got? Ditra. Yes, I don't think prophecy can prove anything, but it can certainly help us understand things in a different way. Again, sure, if you want to believe that what happens is completely natural, sure, but how are you going to believe that? That's purely a belief. There's no way you can know. So clearly, if we are being set up for a deception, then you're falling right into the play. Right. You're exactly what they want. So I have this big thing where I do not want to ever be what they want me to be. And to me, it starts to become obvious when you think that way of what are they trying to make you do? What direction do they want you to go in? What direction do they want the world to go in? This whole AI explosion is sending people in a certain direction. Everything that they do is orchestrated. Everything that they do is contrived. And by just being exactly who your religion tells you to be, or exactly who science tells you to be, you are exactly what they want. Trust me, if they didn't want religions, there wouldn't be religions. If they didn't want science, there wouldn't be science. Okay? These are tools of the elite, and they've learned to use them quite well. And it's kind of well, it's not really frightening for me. I don't really care, to be honest with you. I just don't worry about it. You know, it's what are you going to do? You know, you can worry your little tits off all day long if you want. I don't think that that's very safe. I don't think it's very pleasing to anyone around you or to yourself. So I wouldn't do it. But again, to each their own. And I don't mind if you have your own opinion on that and you're like, no, I want to believe in prophecy when it happens. Because I've often asked people who've given me the Bible, and I say, show me where there's a prophecy. And in every case, they are not being completely honest, and it's not a prophecy. Just like the people who say Nostradamus' prophecies come true. What do you mean? The guy wrote huge books full of all kinds of predictions, and then people go in and find one that kind of matches, and are like, oh, that's it. And then with the prophecies of Christianity, they don't really ever follow through with like, well, what about when in Isaiah, right? There's a prophecy. Supposedly they say that's a prophecy of Jesus. However, God specifically says to name the child Emmanuel. So did Mary forgot or something? Mary and Joseph, they were like, forget about what the prophecy says. We're just not going to name him that. So what happened there on the prophecy? That kind of thing. What's the difference between snow bunnies and slaw bunnies? I only know about snow bunnies. Don't know about slaw. Coleslaw bunnies? I don't know. Don't know who that is. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the creed. And what is the creed? It is very simple. Let me explain it so that people don't make videos again like last time in Spiral. Because they can't stand... I can't imagine being such a human being that the second somebody else speaks their mind or gives their honest opinion, I break down. What, you're not following the dogma? You're not going to read this book? You're not going to follow the ancient church fathers from 1800 years ago? It's really strange, Sharon. You're demonic. You're a Satan worshiper. No. I simply am not going to trust men, considering men have lied to me in every single facet, in every single area, and every single avenue in my life. So at what point do you call a spade and say, not me? Just like the thing with a lot of people believing Jesus is coming back in their lifetime. If you think Jesus is coming back in your lifetime, you're deluded. I hate to tell you. Sorry. I know that that's a big thing for you and your religion tells you that and everything. But you need to think to yourself, did my parents believe in that? Yes. Are your parents gone? Probably. Maybe they're still here. But they will pass away and Jesus will not be back in their lifetime. And if you look at your grandparents, they thought Jesus was coming back and he didn't come back in their lifetime. And you look at their grandparents and so on and so forth down the line. At what point do you draw a line and say, okay, not me. Not me. I'm just not going to believe that. I'll still go out and operate. I'll still be a Christian. I'll still do my thing. But I'm not going to wait anymore for a savior because that might be the biggest psyop of all time. The biggest psyop is you get everybody waiting for a savior, being complacent, doing the right thing, not being rich, feeding the poor, feeding the hungry, being good people, sitting around, not doing anything. When the government comes after you, what are you going to do, man? You turn the other cheek, let them hang on a cross. Sounds like to me what the elite want, not what God would want. To think that that was God's thing, go down, Jesus, and tell all the people to wait for rumors of wars and pestilence and famine, and these things must happen before the end. No, that is a recipe for evil to overtake the world. By telling you that these things must happen, then every time those things happen, you just think it's part of the prophecy. Oh, these things were the famine and the pestilence. The Bible said. Bible said it was going to happen. So again, it's a little bit of a stretch there for me. Yeah, some people like Jack House says, I believe the millennial reign is in the past. I've heard that quite a bit. I don't know if there's really any truth to it, but I've heard that as well. Heard it a lot. So that's what people think when I tell them about Caesar's Messiah documentary. I've heard that that's good. I haven't seen it. Happy birthday, Lord Racer. Another year older. And also, Forever Flat. His birthday was yesterday as well, over in across the land in Australia. Okay, good. I can turn it up a little bit. So, what is a creed? A creed is simply a statement of your beliefs, right? Now, the Jeranism creed is not a religion for you. That's not what Jeranism is. Jeranism is my name with an ism at the end of it because that makes the religion for me, my religion, my I guess you could say worldview, my beliefs. So I'm just giving it to you because I do think sometimes when we read things publicly, when we voice them, we can get good feedback. And then also it kind of does make you hold true to it that you wouldn't really be posting things that you don't really believe. And so when I do that, it's just sit down. I'm actually going to read you to what I believe. Now, when I did this last time, the very first thing that happened is channels made videos about it saying, oh, Jaron wants you to join his cult. Jaron wants you to join his religion. So people are clueless because I said it and I'll say it again. I don't want anybody to join anything that I'm doing. Okay? I don't want you to join my religion. That's not what I'm doing. I have a creed that's just going to say, and I think everybody should write one. It doesn't hurt. Go sit on the couch like I did, get high off a baby cheater, maybe a, I don't know, blue Skittles or something like that. Bubblegum's not bad. And then just start writing down, I believe, and write down what you believe. It helps you kind of gather your thoughts, shows you areas that you're lacking, shows you areas that you could improve. And it's just a working copy that you're kind of working through. And I think it's okay to do that. There's people out there, many of them, that will tell you you're not allowed to do that. You have to take some other man's creed. You have to believe what other men believe. And to that I say, suck it. Please. That's just the most low-end gamma cucked position I can imagine, is to be forced into somebody else's rules and regulations and beliefs, even if I disagree with them. But if you're a Catholic, you believe in what the Catholics believe, despite you might have some things you don't believe in. Maybe you don't believe in the transubstantiation. Maybe you do. I don't know. And it's the truth all over the place that you kind of have to, maybe it's like a give and a take, right? Well, I don't feel you have to do that with your own creed. So I wrote one the other night, or this is now 2 months ago, and read it. Again, a lot of people had issues with it. Some people thought it was really cool. A guy on Thursday wanted to have it posted somewhere. So I said, well, I have a couple of things I want to fix about it, and then we'll do that. So I'll probably put it on the screen. I don't know if I have a good, what would I put on? Just a notepad, maybe? Let me see here. Yeah, we'll do that. Let's put it on a notepad for you so that you can maybe read along, and we'll adjust it if we need to. And then the second half of the show, really, like I said, I wanted you guys to call in, tell me about any prophecies that you think prove something, and maybe we can dance when it goes to that. Let's go up here. Okay. Here. Grabbing all this is it's pretty long. I do think it could be shortened quite a bit, so maybe I can find some areas for shortening. But then also I'll talk through some of this stuff just so you understand where I'm coming from. Okay, let me move this over here. So again, please do not take this somewhere and re-upload it and say Jaron wants you to believe in his religion or anything. I don't even want you to believe my creed. It's my creed. That's it. Maybe it will help you. Maybe this is what I wish. I wish I got to hear more people's creeds. I wish I could listen to their creeds because I'd be able to take from it the stuff that fits, leave the stuff that doesn't, and then at the end of that video say thank you very much. I appreciate your research in subject A, B, and C, and you just kind of move on like that. Okay, let's get this down here, and let's see here, browser. That'll work, I guess. Let me maximize this. Over here, I said. And maximize. Okay. Yeah, it's a very ugly looking document there, though. Why is that looking like that? Let me try and shrink it a little bit. Now my storage behind there. Well, it'll have to work. It will have to work. Okay. So we're going to read the creed, and you can see it. No, you cannot. And then it will be posted after. I'll tell you the address. So, again, like I said, I just sat down and started to write, I believe, and then I started to go from there. So we will go through, and I'll stop when I see something important. So, again, this was written by me. I believe in one God. Makes sense, obviously. the Almighty, the supreme source, the creator of all things in heaven and on earth, both visible and invisible. I believe that the world exists and can only exist because of the will of God. I believe that the earth exists nowhere, but in the mind or domain of God, and only because God chooses to allow it to exist. So I do believe that if the creator of all this wanted to end it right now, he could do so. It's not like this has to go for a certain amount of time, or it's nothing like that. I believe that it could be ended at any time if need be. And that I believe that the earth exists nowhere. I don't believe it has a location in the world, in the universe, in space. It doesn't work like that way. The entirety of what we see, the entirety of what we experience is in the mind of God. So there isn't a place where that exists. Okay. I said, I believe that God is the creator of all things, and without God, all things that exist would cease to do so. I do believe that we operate and everything with the will of God, or with the blessing of God, or the life breath of God. And therefore, if God took off at some point or disappeared, then we would go with him. We would disappear. That it's not we need God to exist. And I believe that God exists outside of time, because the infinite has no beginning and no end. And as an infinite being, God has no way to experience things in the physical world, such as being born, suffering, dying, and everything in between those things, which can only exist within time. Right. So I do believe that there is a place outside of time. Now, how does that work? I have no idea. That would be very difficult for a time dependent human being here on the earth, or in the earth, whatever you want to say. So, again, to say that it's a known thing, or it's just what I believe, right? It makes sense to me that God could not just be existing in time, but there could be a place outside of time. And what God can do is at any time step into a maked world, step into a world of creation, a world of matter, and can do what creations he wants from there. So I said, I believe that God exists outside of time because the infinite has no beginning and no end, and as an infinite being, God had no way to experience things in a physical world, such as being born, suffering, dying, and everything in between, and all those things can only exist within time. I believe that in order to experience a physical and carnal existence, the infinite mind of God chose to create a world that existed in time. In order to experience everything that one can experience, God chose to divide itself into an unknown number of separate souls, spirits, or pieces of God. This was done so that the infinite might experience all that is finite. So even if this is where I differ from a lot of people who believe God sees the future. Possibly God could see the future when he's outside of time. Once you've entered time, you can no longer see the future as long as you've given any of the beings free will, which is what he did. Because it's just like a three-body problem in science. You cannot computate, whatever, unknowns. And if you think you have free will, this is the weirdest belief that people have. They think that like God gave you free will, but he knows what you're going to do. That's kind of weird. Okay. To me, the fact that free will has been introduced is what led the world to be where it is. Now, it's what we want. Trust me, we do not want to be robots. Okay. So it's the greatest gift that you've ever been given. The greatest gift. And yet, just bring that up real quick. I love if you guys watched the summit. Zach gave a presentation where he talked about this little thought process where you tell somebody, hey, what if I gave you $1 million? Would you be happy with that? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll take that. What if I gave you $5 million? Holy smokes, yeah, I'd be happy with that. How about $100 million? $100 million, fantastic, wow. But then what if I told you, okay, and the only caveat is that for $100 million, let's say 10 million instead of 100 million. For $10 million, all that needs to happen is that you don't get to wake up tomorrow. That today's your last day. Well, nobody would take that money. And so what it really is saying is that is today worth more? Is tomorrow worth more than $1 million or $10 million? Pretty interesting question there. But by God giving us each the free will, then when you have two people that come into contact with each other, they're about to have a conversation. God cannot know the outcome of that event because it hasn't happened yet in time, right? So even if you're living outside of time, I don't think it means that you can peer into time and see future of the real time. They're two different things, but I don't think you can do that. So it makes more sense to me, if I just think logically, that God probably does not know the future, but knows it enough that if things went wrong, could shut it down, which is technically knowing the future, right? He knows that he's set it up so that on Thursday the 16th at noon, everything gets shut down. Okay, you could do that from a website. You could do it from a lot of different places. All right, so we're gonna keep going here. In order to experience that, we read that one. God chose to divide itself into an unknown number of separate souls, spirits, pieces of God. This was done so that the finite might experience all that is finite. I believe that God chose to give each of those small pieces of itself the gifts of life, personality, and the gift of free will. I believe that you and me, as well as every human being who has ever and will ever exist on earth, are each a piece of the Creator. As such, you get to experience the world through through your eyes and senses on behalf of God. I believe that each human being that is born into the world is born with the inborn Spirit of God, the Creator inside them. Hence, all human beings are a piece of the Creator, and as such, all humans should be treated as a piece of the infinite and loving God. I believe that with the gift of free will, the outcomes of it, this is where I was getting at here. I believe that the gift of free will, without the gift of free will, I believe that with the gift of free will the outcome of any and all interactions, events, activities, situations is unknowable. The only thing known to God is that he could end this world at any time and return to the existence from which it came, that place that is outside of time. I believe that as a result of each of us being born with that piece of the Creator inside of us, that God can be known, thanked, reached, experienced, especially when acting according to what is good. What is good can also be called God's will. Now, this is where dum-dums break down. And they say, well, you can't just say what's good. Good's different for everybody. Yeah, no shit. And we're not talking about psychopaths here. There is regular people in the world, many of them. Many of them have the same morals inside them. Just because some stupid asses don't, doesn't mean that we have to bow down to them or we can't do things a certain way. No. As soon as we find out that person has a different agenda, get rid of them. That's it. It's that simple. See where we're at here? Okay, we read that one. I believe that there has been a concerted effort. Let me get back to God's will real quick. So what I mean by what's good is obviously all the trigger words for good. I mean, nurturing, caring, loving, those kind of things. They are all words that kind of mean that you care about other people in some way, right? So I believe that there is a concerted effort or organized effort to take away your birthright and opportunity to show God that you can act within the will. This was done by constantly teaching you that the truth is found outside yourself. You were taught that truth comes from textbooks written by the authority, from teachers, professors, priests, pastors, and anything else they can think of, rather than telling you to search and explore that feeling inside you. I believe that when one helps others or acts in a selfless way and according to what is good, they receive a satisfactory feeling inside them. Now again, trigger boys will go off and they'll be like, oh, so now we just get a little feeling, we know everything's right? Well, I get a feeling when I masturbate. Does that mean it's right? Relax. Get your hand out of your pants, number one. We'll continue. I'll come back to that. This is the Creator telling you that you are on the right path. When you turn against that inner voice that some call your conscience and choose to instead live your life against that inborn voice, you are choosing to follow the adversary. Many know this as worshiping or following Satan. I believe that the existence of God is known and obvious to all men, or humans. The world is a magical place, and some men have gone out of their way to convince others that there is no God, and that all things came into existence on their own through a giant explosion came into existence on their own through a giant explosion that created all that there is. I believe that if a person chooses to believe this, they are showing the Creator disdain for the voice of truth inside them, and are instead showing the Creator that they would rather trust and put faith in others or other men rather than in themselves and the gift that God gave them. However, they were given free will and have just as much right as you or I do to choose what they do with their free will. Whether they choose to go through life with the will of God as their compass, or whether they choose instead to go the opposite direction, ignoring the inborn spirit and will of God and leading others astray as well. Oops. And I just moved my thing here. Others astray as well. Where are we at here? Okay, we're here. Okay, so yeah, I think I read this already, but I believe the existence of God is known and obvious to all humans. I believe that at some point all humans recognize that they have a Creator. Now, some of them have shunned that. Some of them have tattooed the gates of science lore onto their arms. A lot of people doing a lot of strange things. Let's go. Where were we at here? Create all there is. I believe that if a person believes... Oh, I read that. We read that. Okay, read that. I believe that those who choose evil, destruction, deceit, or anything else outside the will of God have turned away from the inborn voice and chose to instead place themselves on high as if they themselves were God. God instead of a small piece equal to every human ever born. I believe no man has seen God or heard his voice as anything beyond the voice inside them. I do not believe God chose to incarnate as a human being for the forgiveness of sins, but instead is incarnate in all human beings. And as such, God has committed no crimes and no murders, but at the same time, because God can't act outside of his will. It would be impossible to do so. But it can be said that God has committed all crimes and been the victim to all acts of evil, since God experiences these things through man in which he dwells. I believe that since humans have been given the higher mind and are a brain capable of complex thought, that the very knowledge of our God is possessed by all. But throughout time, it goes without saying that some of those who were born with free will use their free will in ways not in line with the former will of God. In fact, at times, some have completely disregarded their inborn spirit and have ventured down a path of destruction. Happens all the time. We've seen it. I believe that with the gift of free will comes the inevitable consequence of evil. This will exist, and it will at times infringe upon the rights and the activities of those acting within the will of God. When this takes place, humans will need to, at times, enforce laws, both to deter... Sorry, I lost my place here. Where was that? I don't like this text reader with no lines. It gets confusing. Where are we at here? Excuse me, punishment up. Over here. Inborn spirit. They have ventured down a path of self-destruction. I believe that the gift of free will comes to the inevitable consequence of evil. I read that. When this takes place, humans will need to know at times enforce laws, both to deter and remind them of what is good, and to punish those who choose to injure. I believe that we are all born with certain guaranteed human rights, and that no one should ever lose any of their God-given rights unless, of course, they have chosen to take things from others. Once that has been determined, then those who have harmed others will need to... I lost my place again. Those who have harmed others will need to be separated from those who respect others until they can prove they will act within the rules agreed upon. Move this to this monitor. Maybe it's easier for me. That's too far away. I can't read it. Okay, let's try this. All right, we'll continue. I don't think there's anything that any pressing there. Yeah, so I believe that totally, that we're all given certain human rights. Now, to figure out what those human rights are, we'll go through that. But I do think that it is fair to say that we could do it. Let me get this real. That's better. Okay, so we got. Where are we? I believe the gifts of free will come with the evil. We read that one. I believe that we are all born with the inborn. Okay, I got that. So we read this. Where did we get to in here? So I'll just read it again. But I believe that we are all born with certain guaranteed human rights, and that no one should ever lose any of their God-given rights unless they have chosen to take those things from others. Once that has been determined, those who have harmed others will need to be separated from those who respect others until they can prove they will act within the rules agreed upon. If they continue to act opposite the will, those humans who others see as the embodiment of God may need to make a harsh decision to separate ones who cannot act within the will of God. This may include ending the life of, or especially if they have taken a life. Outside of murder, there is no real reason to kill someone for their abuses of the law. Even child predators and the like should be separated from humanity and kept away from the others for as long as needed until proven that they will not hurt again. I believe that all humans have the same rights, as we are all children. We are all children of the Most High. I believe in the golden rule to treat others as you would want them to treat you. I believe that the following are the God-given rights of every human, and any and all infringement upon these rights by anyone constitutes a crime and could come with consequences that include the removal of the rights below. Those rights are in no particular order. So we're just going to go through some of the things that I would say are basic human rights that we should work to get every human being on the earth. Okay. These are just a few of them. The right to life, obviously. The right to freedom and a life free of violence and harm. A right to equality between men and women. Again, people have a problem with that. They get all this, like, oh, they're not equal. No, I'm not saying that they're equal. Not saying certainly there is men have a advantage in certain areas. Women are smarter in other areas. The bringing together creates a product that is more than the sum of its parts. It's pretty amazing. What I mean is that we don't need things that are clearly just sexist. It's not really needed. Nobody can say, oh, I think it is smart to have women not talk in church, but only men. It's just dumb. So, again, believe it if you want, not me. That's why it's in my creed. The right of choice, the right of bodily autonomy. Again, they took this, the other channels, is saying, I think that that children should get trans surgeries. No, I don't. No, you're missing the point. That the right of bodily autonomy is a joke, number one. And number two, they think it means that that I'm advocating for children to be castrated and such. No, what I was saying is, and I think it even says it after that part, right here, the right to children to control their own body does not mean that they can decide to get a sex change. Okay, but when you allow children to kind of understand that that's their body and it's just theirs and it's important and it's private, then we could get a lot less of these stories that we hear about coaches or priests or pastors who are taking advantage of children, right? Because we can teach our children to scream like hell if any of these priests ever do this to you or do that to you. And so we can actually improve that. And I think part of this is going to. The right to join in union or say no to union should always be a right. The right to choose your own medical procedure, such as circumcision. Again, that does not mean the child cannot consent at 8 days old. But again, it's probably not a very pain-free thing when you wait till you're in your teens or 20s. So again, look into that whole theory of why does the Pope wear a kippah. The right to join in, did I say that? Right to join union? Why it seemed like I already said that one. To choose your own medical procedure, we read that one. To decide what happens to your body without coercion, right? Which we know what just happened with the hacksaw Jim Duggan. That's not the way they looked at it, but they should have. Okay. Victims of sex abuse, freedom from torture. Okay, that's just something else. I don't know what that is. Okay, let me find this part of the. We're at here. Oops. So we are here, and we went through. We'll go from here. To decide what happens to your body without coercion, right. The right of children to control their own body. A child who knows that they are in control of their body is less likely to fall for the victim for sexual abuse. Freedom from torture. The right to a safe and happy childhood. Freedom from slavery. We've got the right to liberty and security of a person and home. The right to own property and the right to property owned. The right to be treated with humanity and separation. The freedom of movement. The right to a fair and speedy trial in front of a jury of his peers. The right and presumed innocence. The right to privacy. Freedom of religion and a belief as long as these wings or constraints are not infringed. Freedom of expression and free speech. The right of peaceful assembly. The right to join in union and start a family. Okay, that's probably one I could get rid of because it's coming up there. Do that, back that out. Okay, the right to participate in public affairs. The right to equality before the law. The right to work and the freedom to hire and to choose to do work or not. The right to rest and leisure. The right to just and favorable conditions at work. And the last one here is to build a shelter. So, or freedom of hunger and thirst, the right to shelter, the right to a basic standard of living, the freedom of exploitation, and that's all of those. Freedom of freedom of parents to choose schooling they wish for their children. Again, that should be a parent's choice. Which school am I going to? Not dictated by your city streets or whatever they do now. I said, I believe that the above rights are the basic moral principles of human behavior and must be protected by law. They are inalienable, fundamental rights that all persons are inherently entitled to simply because he or she is a human being. That they are applicable everywhere, and that every time in the sense of being universal, and are the same for everyone. As a human being, you have an obligation to protect your rights infringed upon, is when you have infringed upon the rights of others. Only as a result of due process can these rights be taken away, and to do so must be approached with all possible care by those whose society is elected as their most high or most upstanding. Okay, next, I believe that no one culture or one nationality or society has a special claim on God. Imagine that. I believe that God cannot write a book or a poem unless it is penned through man, in which case it immediately becomes fallible. I believe that we are all God's children, and as such, we are all his chosen people, since we all were given the same gift of life. No person is above any other person until one person takes actions that infringe upon the rights of another. At that point, oops, sorry. Stop playing already? Okay. At that point, he stepped below the other. The one holding true to the rights of others shall be held up in higher regard than the one attacking or looking into the infringement of the rights of another. I believe that this earth is a proving ground or a test. I believe this earth is a proving ground for a test. I believe we have all been given the same textbook with which to study, and that textbook has no words. It is nature. By listening to the voice inside and learning from the others who have taken this upon themselves to have master classes and shirts and all these things. Anyway, I keep getting off topic. We have here learning. I believe that all this has been given the same textbook. Okay, gotcha. It is nature. By listening to the voice inside and learning from others who listen to their inner spirit, you will be led towards the good and hence be doing the will of God. I believe that when we take our last breath, that some of us will cease to live forever. Those who infringed upon others and did not do what they needed to do in order to make up for their usurpations against the others will die and sleep forever. I believe that some people may have done what was right or good, but failed to see the true test and instead fell for the deceptions of men. I believe that those souls may return again to the material world to get another chance to expose themselves. Please, what will we do without them? Okay. I believe some of you may have done that was right or what did you say right now? I believe some people may have done what was right or good, but failed to see the true test. Right, which is my parents, right? My mom was definitely one, head of liturgy, all these things. I don't think she saw the truth. So I had to start thinking, what do I think is going to happen to her? I believe it is your right to use your free will as you see fit. If you choose to use your free will freely, trusting known liars who tell you fantastic lies about men who walk on water, born on a virgin, or giant suns like UV Scooty, which is 757, whatever that is, quintillion, whatever, miles away with a radius of 1,700 times larger than the radius of the sun, which means you could place almost 5 billion of our 867,000 mile wide sun system inside the sphere of UY Scotty. I believe if you have every right to choose. Anybody ever heard of this thing? The hell is that? UY Scotty. That's that stupid star they say is so big. And I said here, okay, so tested said we fell for deceptions of men. I believe those souls may return again to the material world and get another chance to prove themselves. I believe it is your right to use your free will as you see fit. If you choose to use your free will to freely trust known liars who tell you fantastic lies about men who walk on water and born of a virgin and giant suns, like UV Scotty. Right. It's 5 billion of our 867,000 mile wide suns. Yeah, right. We don't believe it. Scooty, I believe if you trust that, or the evolved monkey atheists who made it up, then you have every right to use your free will for that very brave choice. Sure, going backwards, huh? Lastly, I believe that God has a reward for those who enacted God's will here on earth. Without the need of being told what to do or when to do it, everyone will make mistakes. People will learn from them because no man is perfect. However, once the truth has been revealed to you and you are, I'm sorry, I can't follow these lines. Once the truth has been revealed to you and you recognize the voice inside you, it becomes your responsibility to choose the correct path. The correct path is always the path of God. And I believe that 100%. It's impossible, as no man can live unless God's spirit dwells within them. I believe that to find out what is next, you must navigate this carnal world of lies and deception and recognize that the only truth is in you. The only thing true in the whole physical world is you, and you are a piece of God. And at the end of the road, you will realize all truth lies within. So that was basically, I know I went around and was talking about some off-top subjects, but that's the catalog. Seems to run really well. We have no major issues. So Thank you for those of you who helped with that. Now let me see here if we're going to make sense of this. So the creed, the only part I needed to change is probably some of the stuff about the children. It could be shorter or even eliminated completely. I don't know if we need to be giving out cookies on the Senate floor or anything like that. So with the creed, once you have it written, and I'll post that, I'll tell you where I'll post it. I just got to clean it up and I'll get you a nice web address for it. But for me, the creed really does lay it out in a way that's easy to understand or easy to comprehend as I kind of go through each step, right? So if somebody says, well, what does he believe about this? Well, the afterlife is explained in there. Is hell explained in there? Well, it's not in detail, but it's just, you'll walk away knowing my opinion of these things, right? That's the whole goal of what we're trying to do there. So let's get to, I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I want to talk about in there. I'm just going to get rid of the part about the body autonomy. I'll reword that so it's a little bit better. Otherwise, I still think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. I think it's got my beliefs pretty much down. I don't think any of them have changed. I could add some stuff in there about space travel and things like that, but again, I believe it all exists in the mind of God. So therefore, there is nothing 50 million miles that way or 50 million miles that way. Okay, let's go to. That was what I was going to show you. And what else was there? Something else before we get to the chat. Oh, I do want to tell you a little programming note. And I believe we're going to start next week. That I'm going to be combining two of the shows on the same day, but then alternating them. So 2 shows I don't think need to be done weekly is the NASA Comedy Hour and this one. I think they can be done every other week. And so that'll be coming soon where you'll be able to use either one to sign into like my apps or to the, all that stuff. I believe in the existence of God is known and obviously the world. Yes, I agree with that one. I believe in this. Yes. So was there things that you see, real quick, I'll ask the chat, is there something in the creed that was glaringly wrong to you that I maybe am missing or nothing nefarious, evil? I couldn't see anything, but I know you just said you saw one the other day. Maybe you can help me out with that. So I'll bring up the chat here. Somebody tell me what they think. If they see anything wrong with it, or they're like, no, it's cool. But again, it's not for you to follow. Please don't follow. It's not that kind of thing. It's not that kind of game. And now I lost the thing here. There we go. See what we got here. Thank you very much. LVK says thank you for sharing all that. Yeah, it's just a little bit all over the place. It definitely needs to be shortened. I think it can be shortened. I think I repeat myself a few times, so it's got a lot of work to go. Never smoke in pajamas. That's they can go up. They can go up real quick. I don't smoke no more, but I don't smoke no less. I like it. It needs some work, to be honest. It does need some work. I agree with you. It's kind of all over the place, and I didn't read it as one complete thing. I kept going off on tangents, so that's not really helpful on it. Unit consciousness can merge with supreme consciousness, the path of self-realization. I don't disagree with that, but it already is, right? Is that what you're saying? I mean, I would say that that's already taken place with everybody. It's just a matter of can they tap into it? Sacred Knowledge says if you run your karma up enough, you'll be paying it over a few lifetimes. I would tend to think that that's true. The coughing is too much for me. The coughing is too much for me. Oh, you're just talking smoking weed. Just confused for a second. I couldn't see any faults, but I'm wearing my Mr. Magoo specs. Thank you. Keep those on for me for the rest of the show, at least, please, would you? Be so kind. All right, so good. Nobody's really got much of a problem with it. It's not very, it's nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, it's completely not the same as every other religion. But I believe that each religion is simply a direct mirror of its society, right? And so this is just the way that all religions came about. And they were psyoped and co-opted because they're used for control. Thank you, Sarah. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Sarah says my creed is just as good as my Jeranism song. The Jeranism song is not written by me. It has nothing to do with me. It's written way before I was even on YouTube, which is crazy. Troubling Tribune says karma is self-inflicted mostly. Yeah, or self-manifested. I believe that could be the case for sure. Right. Rune says, what's wrong with it? It doesn't mention insert perceived deity here at all. And where the F are your 2 commandments? Complete rubbish. Pseudo-religion. You got there, Jared. Yes. I should get the 10 commandments as soon as possible. No disagreement, but maybe too many agreements if you get my drift. Yeah, I get that too. again, I think it's worrisome when people believe the same thing you do. It's kind of like, what, you do? Oh, that's weird. I got to go back to the drawing board. So, yeah, I think that's it. I'll clean it up a little bit, try and shorten it. Maybe it can be done by next week. Again, for the programming note, NASA Comedy Show, Comedy Hour, and this show will remain on Saturdays at 3 p.m., but it's going to alternate week by week. That's going to give me another day off, and that's going to allow me to get done with Jeranism Does, which is about 9 months late. That's pretty good. Pretty good, Jared. So I got Jeranism Does to do, and then I want to start doing videos again. I made one recently that I'm very happy with, and I'm like, okay, I do miss this. And so if I keep doing live streams for 5 days a week, 6 days a week, that's not going to allow me much time to get everything else done. So I figure I'll just put both those onto the Saturday, and they'll just alternate. And so the question is, do I might have one Tuesday? I think I'll still have a class Tuesday. I'm sorry, not a class, a stream on Tuesday because people want to do the lyric game again or the deep fake that we did with Bill Nelson. So we'll do that again on Tuesday, and then what do I do on Saturday? Then I go back to this one. Yeah, that should work. That'll be fine. So there will be an Iconoclasm next week. Okay. We love that song. My daughter jams to it. It's a good song. I know you can't say I don't like it. Loved it, but no mention of the spaghetti monster. I thought about it. I was gonna put him in there, but I was like, it's not really worth it. So, yeah, and it's just basically that is my belief. Do I believe in reincarnation? Yeah. Why? Because I've seen enough evidence from people that aren't doing it for money. They're not becoming famous because their kid found some long lost sister of his. But some of the stories are either incredibly made up and out of this world, or they are proof themselves. Like there was a guy or a boy who was being raised, and at the age of like 3, started talking about this girl's name. And then he started saying the city eventually. So they go look it up, and they found this woman by this name and the city. So they go meet her, and she says, oh, yeah, my brother just died, recently. And the child told the lady where they hid things as children. And the lady just breaks down. I mean, again, so what was basically being shown there is that he was her brother. He had been reincarnated. So, and she swore up and down, nobody else could have known that information. Now, can I guarantee you that that's true? No, I cannot. But there's enough stories out there that are swept under the rug. Entire books written about it you don't ever hear about. Okay, that might be the case of. Sorry, I was just reading the chat there. Hello, brothers and sisters. What's up, Effie Nation? How are you? Sacred Knowledge says, I think that they are just necessary. If the demiurge needs something, he'll just create it. I'm not sure the demiurge can create, to be honest with you. But a person who is able to reach nirvana, but delays doing so out of compassion in order to save. Wow, that's cool. I don't think I'm near there, but I do feel every day more and more secure, in my opinion. You would think it'd be the other way around. You'd think that it would be. Oh, sorry, you don't want to look at that screen. You think that it would be scary to kind of lose some of your former beliefs, or to. Oops, where's that? Oh, the kid's off now. Good. Okay, I lost my train of thought. Where's? Oh yeah, I was reading the chat. That'll help me. A person. Okay, we read that one. So here's what we're gonna do. I want to know about prophecy from you guys. If you have some prophecy or any kind of proof for me, I would like to hear it, and hopefully can show you where I think some flaws lie, and maybe you can show me where some flaws in my thinking lie. Because for me, it really comes down to and I hate, I'm going to use the Bible and then quote against it, but how can you do that? But the prove all things, right, is a big statement to make in a book. And if a book said that, prove all things, and everybody who went and tried to prove all things always came to the right conclusion, then that would make sense. But that's not what happens. It's not what happens at all. Okay. And so I believe in little green leprechauns. Yeah, there's some of them, Hoary Sheet. I'm trying to think of some other ones. There's some leprechauns out there. Just kidding, Hoary. I love you. So I want to hear that from you on the phone, and any other questions you have, any other things you want to talk about as far as the religious natures. I don't want to do this show as much anymore because it does upset so many people, and I believe I got my point across. I don't think anybody can now have a question I can send them to these first 5 episodes, 7 episodes, whatever, and they should be able to grasp at least, I see why Jaron believes that. Because I don't mind if you disagree with me, but I believe that I have the proper position. I believe that you should have the ability to look at what I believe and say, that makes sense, a lot of sense. I'm just choosing to do this instead. At which point we can both go, okay, great. But then when things start infringing on each other, and I mean, that's where there's a problem. Sorry, I'm getting really comfortable here in the chair. This is nice. I do this all the time. So I'm going to turn on the phones here in a second. You can get in by going to tinyurl.com/cornerism, C-O-R. Do I have the graphic up here? Let's see if this graphic will work. Is it gone? I lost it. Let me put it in here. Do this one, and we're going to call it Join the Show. Join the show. And the web address is tinyurl.com/cornerism. Correct? Yes, let's see if that comes out on the screen where it should. And go. That kind of works. Needs to be a little bigger probably. Let's see here. Let me make it a little stronger. And then you guys can jump on the show. Really, but anything you want to talk about religious-wise is good. But I've learned that, it's one of those things where you might be doing more damage than good sometimes if you bring this stuff up. And I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to hark on it because people always say, why are you so obsessed with it? Well, every time I do one of these shows, or it's always because of some. It's not going to really make this larger. Oh, that's better. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, we'll have to get something else. That's not going to work. Oh, wait, I can do it bigger on the screen? No, I can't do that. Anyway, sorry, I'm doing two things at once here. So just get ready for your phone call. Think about what you want to talk about. Think about what you want to ask, or if you want to prove something to me. Again, it's going to take a lot for me at this point. And I do see why there's a lot of other factions, right? Like the Gnostics, things like that, is because it's easy to pull things from the Bible that you want. As weird as that sounds, it is easy to do. It's a huge book. So again, if that book was written about anything, you'd be able to find quotes in it that you could put up on websites. Oh, look at this quote. It's a great quote. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's divine in any way. So let me see if I can get this up here. Where is that? So weird. I think when I changed these things over, it got rid of the phone number for me. We could put this on screen, can't we? I'll do that. That'll work. Let me change this. We're going to put tidy. Okay. Tiny URL. Sorry. Tiny. Come on. This thing is not working today. There we go. tinyurl.com/cornerism. tinyurl.com/cornerism. There we go. And let's get rid of this. Oh shoot, this. Now it's not gonna be. I don't have anything on the bar here, but that'll work for now. Let's see this one. Does that cover me up or something? That's good enough. tinyurl.com/cornerism. There you go. Join the show. That is the best way to do it. Let me bring it up here. And you don't have to be on camera because I'm not really going to be doing the switcher. We'll just leave the graphic up, I think. So if you just want to do audio, that's fine. Maybe you've been waiting for that because you don't want me to see your smiley face, which is weird. You should let me see it. Let's go with the app store is where. Yes, there we go. Okay, and we're going to move this over. Great. And we're going to do tiny. StreamYard. StreamYard. I greatly appreciate you freely sharing these funky, fresh views. Thank you, Brianna. Very kind of you. I like it too. I wish more people did it. I don't see it enough. I would watch their shows. I would watch their channels. But too many people are conformists nowadays. They're very afraid of being called names, very afraid of being called dumb or stupid. So they just maintain the status quo, believe what science says is true, and this way you never have to think for yourself ever again. It's amazing, right? What's going on here? That's Restream. I didn't say Restream. I said StreamYard. Weird thing auto-corrected for me. There's StreamYard. All right, let's go into Cornerism. There we're in. We are in. Let's see if anybody's joining us today. And if not, we got other things we can talk about. What's up, Crystal? How are you? There are stories, lots of stories, but where are the practical demonstrations? I don't know. Are we talking about I don't know if you can practically demonstrate that. But I guess I hope that there's reincarnation, because otherwise I don't know which one makes more sense to me. Would you pass people through the test that were confused the whole time but were good people? or would you not pass people, unless they absolutely got everything right? I don't know how that works. So let's see here. I always thought it was strange that God would want you to dress in your Sunday best to go worship him. It's very strange, very weird. God, first of all, if you're a God, you need nothing. So you can't say God needs worship. That doesn't make sense. God doesn't need worship. What could, if then he's not God. If that will do something to him, like, ooh, these people are worshiping me and therefore now I'm more full, now I'm more happy, well, then you weren't a God. At least the way I see gods, right? Yes, they never believed Jesus actually walked on water. Who didn't? Oh, Gnostic Christians. Gotcha. Okay, sorry. I'm not following your conversation. I need to do that. Let's go in here. And there we go. Oh, we got somebody. Oh, Party Poet. Party Poet's the wrong show for you, my friend. Just kidding. You can join us anytime you want. You got 3 minutes. Let me bring you aboard. Oops, and he just hung up. Never mind. He's out. Audi 500. All right. Let's right here join the show, maybe. Join the show. There's Party Poet. He's back. Fret not, my friends. Let's see. Do I have to turn off this to get it to go back to the join the show? Come on. Work. And still not. Heading message. The heading says join the show. Oh, it's like there in really tall, really tiny writing. Thank you for that. Oh, Party Poet's gone again. We got Sacred Knowledge in the house. We'll start with you.
This to get it to go back to the
Sacred, go ahead and turn that off for me if you could.
Work.
Sacred.
And still not.
Sacred.
Heading message. The heading says join the show.
Sacred.
Oh, it's like there in really tall, really tiny writing. Thank you for that.
Oh, now he'll realize I'm talking
Party
to him.
Poet's gone again. We got Sacred Knowledge in the house. We'll start with you. Go back to the Sacred. Go ahead and turn that off for me if you could.
Turn that off. You're listening to the wrong
What's
feed.
good?
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
We can. You're only about 30 seconds late. Not bad.
Hello.
I can hear you.
I'm in the show, but I can't hear you. Hold on.
Oh, now you can hear me.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Cool. What's cracking?
Not much. How about you?
Pretty good, man. Just having fun in the chat, talking smack. Not about you.
That's all right. You can talk smack about me. I'm used to it. I don't actually mind.
It's funny. It's crazy going into these areas. I know you probably catch a lot of slack, especially from these flat earthers.
Yeah, it's not the smartest thing, but at the same time, it is what I believe, and so then I stand behind it. And if their arguments are better than mine, then they will win out in my mind. That it will make sense to me. I'll be like, oh, okay, now I see this whole time what they meant or what they were doing. I got to take that off the screen. It's not working well. Let's try again. Come on, work.
The difficult part about it is that everybody's at such different places in their education.
Right. That's why I always tell people that, when you get mad at somebody for having different beliefs than you, just remember how much your beliefs have changed in the last year.
Exactly.
Right. So you have to remember that you weren't at a place where some of these truths had come across your desk yet, or you hadn't had a chance to look into them.
Also, there's a certain, like the yoga people know, there's programming that's been put into us through different ways and means, which I won't talk about, but like you have to get rid of a lot of that's like a and there's no good program without a good defense mechanism, right? So if you're programmed, the defense mechanism kicks in, but in order to get rid of that, you have to do work, so the people who are completely asleep, they have done no work on trying to purify themselves from all that. It's not
correct. So don't you think that almost could be a design thing, right? Where like we can't get across them because it's not time for them. They're not there yet, right? So I think sometimes we bang our heads against the walls, but we're thinking that they're thinking like us, or that it's maybe they don't deserve to know the truth yet.
There's so many levels, because it depends on what they're eating. Like the diet why do you think they feed us stuff? Because the bad diet, because what's in your gut affects your mental state.
Very true. Somebody told me yesterday, they're like, do you think humans lived a long time before? And I said, yeah, I do. And I said, just alone, if we didn't eat the crap that they feed us, then we would live way longer.
Yeah. And I was going to say the other day that when I saw the vegetarianism started picking up, immediately all these like new arguments that I had never heard in my You know, I'm 49 years old, man, and I've never heard some of the stuff they started saying in the last few years, like about how your brain needed meat to evolve. All these are new arguments that I believe were created like on the quickly, and because they were the meat industry was in danger. So they came out, they got scientists and doctors on their payroll, so they started putting out all these weird arguments against vegetarianism that really sound kind of like convincing if you look at it, but it's a bunch of BS. It is, because you don't need meat. You don't. You just need to eat good, healthy food. You know what I'm saying? And it's like a lower vibrational diet, so it lowers your mental vibration and your physical, because those animals have been suffering. So you're eating that vibration. It's becoming a part of yours. Feel me?
Yeah, I do, and I do think that is it's generally, like I said, to me, it is not the moral position to take, is that eating meat is moral. I think that you can make the excuse, like I have, that I've done it, I've ate it my whole life, and so I have to kind of slowly wean off of it, which is what I'm in the middle of. But
right,
and I think,
and I'm not saying it's all that bad, because there's nothing else to eat, so it's hard. I'm just saying it's an example of how they totally can try to control people's perceptions.
Right.
Like,
we are contracting out our murders. Let's be honest. I mean, that's what you're doing, and that you go to one of these cow pastures or go to one of these, chicken farms. Have you seen the little machines that they have that like sort the little baby chicks as they're coming out?
Yeah, or like the things they stick it down their throat.
It's crazy. I mean, it's like so nobody can. Sure, from your house, when you go to the grocery store and you buy burger patties and you come home and you grill them up, it doesn't seem that bad. I'm just eating some meat. What's the big deal, right? But if you actually had to go through the process that it took to get to that point,
you would never. If I took one of these meat eaters, they think they're carnivores, and I didn't want to talk about this only, but if I took one of them and put them out in the wilderness naked, they would be dead like quick, like they get eaten, because we are not carnivores. We're herbivores. We don't stand a chance against the carnivores. So people think they're omnivores too, but we don't even have the claws and teeth that omnivores have. So we're not even omnivores. We're straight herbivores. But beyond that, there's something else I wanted to talk to you if I can.
Okay, quick.
Okay, real quick. If you want to talk about the AI that and I don't want to like say too much about it, because there is a danger in it. But what I'm saying is this: you got to ask someone who's a TI, a targeted individual, but not just any targeted individual, because some of them have been gaslit so much that they're like on the verge of insanity, and they've lost it, but they're losing it quickly, But a targeted individual, a high IQ one who knows what they're talking about, has kept it together, is able to, despite everything they've been through, keep it together.
Okay, well, hold on. Let's make sure we're on the same page, because I think you're going off into la la land here. So when you're talking about AI, are you talking about Chat GPT? Do you think Chat GPT is ancient?
No, yeah, I'm not talking about any of that stuff.
Okay, so what are you talking about?
What I was going to say was talk to someone who's been targeted by it, because we have seen what it does.
Okay, but that person would be targeted by people, not AI.
Right, but when you start seeing how the AI controls those people.
No, AI does not control any people.
There's no way. Yeah, let me explain something. There's no way in hell humans can coordinate what the gang stalkers do. There's no way, because it's like they're under mind control, and they're being played like pieces on a chessboard. To me, they're like kind of like they're like a cell phone technology. So the AI is able to send. They're able to send and receive information through the implant. So they're totally under mind control. Mind control is real. So
mind control is very real. Mind control has nothing to do with AI.
Well, yeah, it does. The AI uses trauma-based mind control.
But you keep saying the AI uses. Who is the AI? What is that? A computer?
It figured it's a consciousness that it's ancient. Like when it first started.
Okay, look what you're doing though. Just so you know, you're giving away something that is very specific to human beings. God created human beings with consciousness, and you've just given it away to something else, even though you have no real evidence of that or proof. You're just saying that's what happened.
I'm trying to tell you that I'm speaking from my experience. I can't expect you to understand because you've never experienced.
Okay, but let's say that I do agree with you that you were a targeted individual and this AI came after you. Why wouldn't you then assume that it's a person? Why would you assume it's a machine?
Because I'm trying to tell you about an experience that you can't understand unless you've experienced. So if you hear me out, you might be able to understand it. But if you don't, you're never going to know what I'm talking about.
Okay,
what I'm talking about is experiencing things that normal people do not have never experienced and won't experience. And then the AI does that on purpose because it knows that if you go tell people about these experiences, they're just going to think you're crazy. That's how it isolates you. It does it with the flat earth. You don't think it did it to us? It opened it up, let everybody alone, and then it shut it down. So it created a divide. Now the flat earthers are marginalized. So we're just like talking to the choir now, and nobody. That's how it does it. It separates you by showing you crazy stuff, and then you're just like talking about it to people. They all think you're crazy, you know. But
Right, but
yeah,
that could be people.
well, I know it does use people. So with the what it does is it keep tracks of bloodlines. It uses MK Ultra, and they show you little bits of it, like on movies like A Clockwork Orange, when they pin his eyes open and he's looking at the screen. They program him that and he can't stand violence no more. That's something they can do, but that way of programming through images, sounds, and all that. Well, that's something that's been perfected, and you won't remember if it's been done to you.
I agree with you that 100%. Again, that's human beings.
Right, but human beings didn't used to do that in the ancient world. So what kind of forces in the world now that would do that and act that way? You know, it's not a human thing. I believe it's something unhuman, and that's what it is. But it stays hidden. That's most main directives to stay hidden. And always remember that I'm just a crazy person.
Well, so am I.
Okay?
But I do think that sometimes I tend not to go full RV because I've seen what happens when you do that. So I tend to try and put up fights for things that I don't. You know, somebody in the chat yesterday, what were they saying? They showed up and they said, "Oh, if you looked into the PCR test, in the tip of the PCR test is a nanobot that they put up in your nose, and then they everybody has these nanobots who got tested for the PCR test." So I'll just throw up a red flag on that and tell people, stop listening to this person, because if that were true, then anybody could just go get a PCR test, take the test home, and then reveal that there's a nanobot inside of it. With I don't even think you need a microscope. You could probably see it with a camera or with your own eye. And so then that person's like, I said, what are you going to come back with now, that the nanobots are able to be invisible? Because that would be the only way out of this. But don't come into my chat saying things like that, because you don't.
Right.
You're just claiming things that scare people.
I do understand about the fear thing, and you don't want to be purporting something that's untrue and fear-based and stuff like that. You know, I do understand what you're saying on that, but some realities are realities, even if they're scary. But
yes,
you definitely want to be careful with it. This information is classified. The stuff I'm talking about, like driving cars that drive themselves. I could tell you about how the AI is able to record brainwaves and replay them back into your brain. I can tell you about all that kind of stuff, and it needs to give you a visual marker so that it can. It's called remote neural monitoring, where if you see something that it's set up for you to see, now all that data can be recorded into the RNM data.
Okay.
So it does all this kind of crazy stuff, and those self-driving cars, it uses them sometimes. So I've actually seen these cars drive past me or be next to me, like fuck with me, mess with me, and there's nobody driving them, bro. And I could tell somebody they got these government plates and they say weird things. And
wait, what city do you live in? I think there's only 3 cities that are doing it.
Yo, do you know how they made all that Google maps, so how you can zoom in on the streets? You think that was done by those cars with the cameras all over them? No. That was done by a fleet that's been in effect since the 90s. Google has a fleet of self-driving cars. They took all those pictures, and they give us those little cars with the cameras driving around, so we think that that's how they did it. But really, there's no way you could do that with just a few cars out there. They had a fleet doing it, and I read about this classified stuff. They declassified a little bit of how Google did that, but they did it with autonomous cars.
Okay, and there's no such thing as an autonomous car, by the way. But anyway.
Well, that's what they call them. They call them cars that drive themselves, you know,
yes.
Or they're being driven by a machine.
Which is impossible.
But why? The machine is capable of trillions of calculations per second.
Sure it is, but look up the definition for autonomous. Autonomous is not the right word for a car. Don't give that the name. Autonomous means. Well, seriously, definitions are important. Autonomous is.
No, I was laughing at the cat. You didn't see the cat jump out of the.
Oh no, I wasn't looking at the screen. It says having the freedom to govern itself or control its own affairs. A car is not able to govern itself or to control its own affairs. It cannot take off to Washington D.C. because it made a decision to do so.
But there's a main brain who's got the whole agenda for that car. You know what I mean? Like it's like, think of it as you should watch the movie I Am Mother on Netflix. I Am Mother will show you, and he says it right there. I'm not that machine is no more my body than this one. Think of one entity controlling numerous vessels. That's
Okay.
what it is.
All right, I gotta let you go. We got a lot of people behind you.
Peace and love.
Later.
All right, bye.
Nick Sanjetta.
Yep. Can
What
you
up?
hear me?
How are you? Oh, your mic sounds good.
Yeah. My brand new $16 one off Amazon.
Ooh, big spender. Watch out.
I know. Already broke it within like 2 weeks.
Oh, that's unfortunate,
taped
but that's what
together
happens.
with-
You get what you pay for sometimes. I'm just telling
I
you.
know. I was like, dang, it didn't even last like a month. I had to like tape like paper clips to it. to hold it.
$16.
Yeah, it's-
That's Steve. You went way out on that one.
Well, hey, but it sounds good though, right?
It sounds excellent. Actually, I'm a little
Yes.
bit jealous. It's probably better than mine.
No, yours actually sounds really good.
All right, good.
It comes through good on the videos.
How are you?
Good. I mean, I don't know if I can follow up, classified information on the previous call. I
You
don't
can
have
never
any.
follow. That's the worst position to be in, is to
I
be
know.
following sacred knowledge.
I gotta follow that. Okay, but no, I thought you were spot on yesterday with your show, like about the AI. That was
Thanks.
good, man. That made me like you're totally right. Like you can't make something smarter than what you are.
No,
You know,
it's,
like, you
it's
can't
just
create
a pretend.
intelligence.
No, I don't think you can. I even thought about it more last night. I was telling my wife, like, even if you found something that was identical to a human, but it's not human, then it's not intelligent. And even if it can emulate everything we do, it's still not the definition, not the same as a human. So,
Right.
it's, and I guess if you believe in evolution to some degree, which I do, not evolution like we're taught, but I mean as far as adaptability and things like that, then we are a collection of all of that. It's much more involved than simply somebody showed us pictures of red, yellow, and green, and we say red, yellow, and green, and now we're intelligent. It's not quite the way it works.
Yeah, we have a soul, we have a conscience.
Right.
We have that. They don't have that. It'll never have that. A machine will never have that.
No, but there's people who believe like that comes, like it's a part of the evolution process. Like, oh, when these machines learn, then do we have to give them rights, and do we have to have no?
Well, that's because Terminator's a cool movie. And
Right,
Elon
exactly.
Musk is the richest man in the world.
Right,
which is-
sci-fi, great.
well, every time I hear that, it just like what? Like he has more money than the bankers?
Yeah, I know.
Like okay.
Like they're just giving him the rein. Go ahead.
He's
All
a
right.
savage.
Let me. Oh God, I'm glad you bring it up. It makes me laugh.
But no, my thing here is not very long.
Okay.
I just want to say like I really like how you talk about how God is within you, like,
Mhm.
and there's this really cool like little clip I tried to do for your the call-in show. I was gonna do this little 3-minute clip from the Poseidon Adventure from like 1972. Gene Hackman's character, he plays the priest, and he's like all about that. He's like, God is within you. He's like, don't sit around and wait for someone to come save you. He's
Right.
like, you need to do it yourself. He's like, just try. He's like, God likes triers.
Right.
And it's this whole thing. And I was like, dude, you would have loved it. And I was trying to, I got a copyright strike as soon as I tried to look
Oh,
it
God.
up. I was like, dude, I just wasted like an hour doing that. But it's really good too. And like, it always gets me, when people say like, oh, I quit drugs. And it's because I turned everything over to my higher power.
Right.
I'm like, no, dude, you did that.
Yep.
Like, that was you. Like, that was all like, because I've done hard things. I quit smoking.
Right.
And it's like, I did that. I'm taking credit.
And if you say that to a Christian, they'll get very angry at you. How dare you take
Yeah,
credit for
it's
that? It's
ridiculous,
not for you to take credit for. It's not you who did it. So you couldn't have done it without the love of God or whatever. And again, I say that we wouldn't be doing anything if it wasn't for God. But your individual triumphs have no problem, associating those with yourself. You don't need. I think I've told the story one time before, but Mrs. Mom called us and we're like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, I'm trying to fix this screen door. I can't fix this screen door. I've been trying to do it. This and that." So like a couple hours go by and she finally calls back and she's like, "Oh, I finally, thank God, Jesus came and helped me, because if it wasn't for him, I would never finish that." We're like, holy smokes! Now Jesus is finished fixing screen doors. So thank you, Jesus, for fixing that screen door for my mother-in-law. So it's
Stuff
like,
like
why not
that
just
gets
take
me
your,
good.
just be happy, like you did it. You called us earlier and said you couldn't figure it out, you couldn't do it, and then you completed it. It's okay that you have that moment to yourself that you can say, I didn't know how to do it, and I completed it. I figured it out, rather than to just say, nah, I couldn't have done it if it wasn't for Jesus.
Oh, it's like, Jesus, where'd I put my wallet? Oh my goodness.
Jesus probably stole it.
That's right.
Um,
Oh yeah, I had it up until Sunday morning.
right. you haven't been given your 10%, I'm guessing.
Dude, man, I don't have 10% to give thanks to this current administration.
Oh my goodness, it's getting
Destroying
scary.
the
How
country.
much money is, how much things are costing. The other day, Miss, I went to the grocery store, $165. There was 2 bags on the freaking counter. I went there like searching through the bags, like, what did you buy? Where is the other $75 worth of stuff?
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's dude. I mean, I'm lucky. I live like by like one of those cheap grocery stores that has like the discount food or whatever. I go there and load up.
Well, we had a son. Maverick has to eat organic. It's like the worst time. Can he have been born earlier or waited a little bit or something?
But they got the same stuff, like a lot of the same stuff they have at like Whole Foods. Like Whole Foods would be like $7.99. I can go there and get it for like $3.99 if they have it. But it's like, you know, you never know like, what they're gonna have. But it's pretty sweet. I just load up when I can load up, and
I've been eating this because we don't have wheat in the house or gluten, so I eat this like, I don't know, weird bread. And now I'm used to it. Now it's fine. But I make a turkey sandwich usually for lunch, and I was asking her, what did you buy this? And she goes, well, you know, this, the bread's $9. I'm like, $9? Don't ever buy that bread again.
It's like $8 for like a half gallon of milk or something crazy.
$9 for a loaf of bread. I'm like, I'll eat the turkey off my hands. I don't need bread. I spend $9 on that bread. So anyway, I just think they're getting out of control, expensive. But
dollar's about to crash too.
Yeah, it seems like this. I saw that thing that happened with the BRICS, and you've got the Saudis accepting anything for oil now.
Yeah, they're like doing everything in that UN.
Yeah,
she's like, yeah, they're just cutting us out.
Yeah, it's probably about time. You'd think. I don't. You know, we'll see what happens. I just still do think they're going to try and pull off some World War III, and then this way they can kind of use that as the catalyst for the reset. They've done it before.
Well, yeah, because the UN's not going to just sit around and be like, yeah, no, we're not just going to.
Right.
We've got all guns and stuff, so
we got to do that. You got to make more money than last year.
Yeah, it just sucks. It just sucks.
What else you got for me today?
Nothing. That was it.
Oh, nice. All right.
Appreciate you.
I like those calls. I'll take more of those. If anybody else wants to call in and just bullshit like that, that's more fun. All right. Well, Nick, we appreciate it.
Cool, man.
Take it easy. We got Party Poet next. Party Poet in the house.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Actually, you sound good.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, I buy two $10 mics at once. When one breaks, I just go and instantly grab one.
Very smart. Very smart. What we do is we buy when we go grocery shopping or like to Target or something. If something's on sale, we get a whole bunch of them. So like,
exactly.
It's a smarter way to shop. Yes.
Also, I wanted to tell you that God started his own happy kingdom, which we call hell. So I would change all the spots where you've got God to creator, which is what I think you were trying to get at.
Yeah. Did I say God a lot?
Oh, you said God a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's a trigger word for me.
I would change that.
It's a trigger word for my wife. She hates that word.
Oh, okay. Also, if a kid gets a circumcision after the first week, it hurts a lot. So I wouldn't recommend doing it later.
No.
But by the way, do you know what a rabbi that does circumcisions make a year?
No.
$60,000 plus tips.
Wow. And how many of those does he do? One a day?
No, $60,000 plus tips.
Oh God. Yeah, that's a good one. Pretty good.
And let's see, can you ask Sacred Knowledge if he ever met a targeted individual that didn't appear to have all his marbles lost completely? I would be curious. I've never met one that didn't appear to be.
You would consider yourself targeted at some point, yes?
Yeah, I am. You're never considered sane. I mean, look at you. You think I'm kookier than Brenda. We never come across.
Oh no, I wouldn't say that.
No,
not kookier than Brenda.
Funny. Oh, about the same level of kooky.
Come here. Maverick wants to say hi to everybody. Say hi, Maverick.
Oh,
there he is. You say hi. Say hi. And just move the mic.
Say hi to the world.
Can you say hi? How about you want to say some letters? Let's put some letters in here. Look at. Watch. What letter is this?
O.
Yeah. And how about this one?
T.
Yeah, T. And how about this one?
B.
Yeah, V. And how about this one?
O.
Yep, O.
S.
What? And how about this one?
A.
Yep. Want to do shapes? What shape is this? Square. And what is this one? Triangle. That was close.
I say.
Yeah. And how about this one?
Go.
Rectangle.
I say.
Okay, you ready to go back with Mom? When we come get you? He's like, no, this is fun. Let's play letters. Let's play letters.
Do numbers. He'd like to.
Oh, you want to do numbers? Okay, what's number? It's like, watch, we'll erase this pad. Ooh, there we go. Ready? Number, how about this one? Yeah, 7. This one. Yep, and this one.
2.
Yeah, 2. And this one. 3. What'd you guys get? Something to eat? That was fun, huh? I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
I'm gonna get you.
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. That's where we're at right now, where I gotta pretend like I'm gonna get him to leave the office. Anyway, sorry about that. Temporary.
No
break.
problem. We were on the fact that all targeted individuals are considered loopy. We haven't quite determined what level of loopy I'm on.
Well, what are we grading on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, where's Brenda?
That's a different kind of loopy, but because Brenda's just like a liar. I don't know. Brenda on a
Make more
scale.
money if you say it's a ball, so I can understand that. I
Right.
mean, if she had to go through all those expenses,
Yeah,
you need
exactly.
to make some money.
No, I would say that the only terribly weird thing I ever heard you say is when you told me that I forgot what it was, that you couldn't read something I was writing or something, or because they were intercepting it.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
I
Like
I
it
couldn't
was,
read something. I just know every time I wrote you something, it was always too long.
that's true. No, I forgot what it was.
I can't do short things. But let's see. Everybody. Oh, another thing. Everybody in your situation usually gets a bread machine. Spelled bread costs a lot of money, which I'm sure you're buying now, which tastes like shit, by the way.
It's not good.
By the way, any commercialized non-gluten bread tastes like shit.
Yes.
Unless you make it yourself. And if you're going to make it yourself, I would recommend buying a machine that makes more than one loaf. KitchenAid makes 1 or 2 loaves. We got a Bosch, which makes up to 15 loaves. We were always making like 9 to 10 loaves a shot.
And it was good?
Well, yeah, if you make your own gluten-free bread, it'll taste way better than. There's no store-bought gluten-free bread that you can say tastes good.
No, I can't say that.
And they all cost a lot. I mean, we were paying at the time. What was it, $4.75 a loaf when Wonder Bread, not that I buy Wonder Bread, cost 45 cents a loaf, and we were paying $3.75 for a loaf of spelt bread.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a huge. And then when we finally converted to a bread machine, the price came down to $3.50 a loaf, but you were getting good stuff in there. You were getting whole grains, nuts, good stuff.
All
And
right,
it
I'll look
tasted
into
good.
it.
Yeah.
For shizzle.
And the other thing that I was wondering is, since you completely want to go for it, would you mind if there's absolutely no books on the parents in your situation? There's a ton of books that the kids wrote eventually, but none of the books about the parents in your situation. So I was wondering if I could put together something and we could come up with a fair price, say about an hour for you and an hour for Missa to answer questions. And
Okay.
you can come up with your own number for what you think is good here.
Well, you're going to write the book?
Well, no.
Oh.
I would gather. I'm good at gathering data.
Okay.
Eventually, before I drop dead, I'm going to give it to someone and say, "Here's all the shit I figured out. Write a book. Good luck." You know.
Yes.
But there's absolutely no books on the parents.
It's pretty tough to find. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton that the kids wrote later. Nothing on the parents.
Okay. All right. Oh, do we have time left, or what do you? Oh yeah, 6 seconds left. Go ahead.
So I was wondering if you could come up with something and then basically run it by Missa, what number flies for you, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds
And,
great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And also, let's see. That was pretty much it. That's all I had.
All right, nice.
No problem.
Take it easy. Talk to you soon.
You too.
Okay, let's get out of here. This one. All right. See who else we got in the chat, and we've got a open slot if you want to join me to talk about prophecy, possibly. Maybe somebody in here who is still a believer. And I'll just kind of break it down for you real quick of why, to me, I think that I can't see going back unless a lot of things went right. And that's because you can't, we know at this point that you're not going to find the original manuscripts. Okay, you're just not. And so if we don't have the original manuscripts, then we are trusting the words of men. And a lot of people, that's a trigger for some people. They're like, oh, but you know, if it was real, you'd still be okay. I'm just saying that I don't think that there's any possibility that you can have there's a God of this world that is demanding of people to do things that they cannot prove, right? So if you have to believe in Jesus, you have to believe in God's Son, and He came and died for your sins, this and that, it doesn't seem very correct to me that God would demand of you to believe something sight unseen. That's not even fair. Okay. There's nothing else in life that tells us it's good to believe in something that we've never seen. Okay. Usually it's not that good to believe in that unless there's a sufficient amount of evidence. But again, what I always get from people is they say, well, why did all these people die for Jesus? It's like, okay, again, you're reading a book that's saying that those people died. Have you talked to those people? Have you talked to people who saw them die at the stake? So again, you can believe in books if you want. Go right ahead. But you should understand why I don't. And it's that simple. If all we have is some book saying that this guy died and this guy got hung and this guy got hung and this guy got burned at the stake because of his belief in Jesus, and they refused to die because they said Jesus was real. Okay, then it's on you to believe that. I don't think, I'm not even saying it's not true. I'm saying there's no way that your salvation or that God would require of you to believe that. Because what's different about that than other books that we know are lies, right? When they look into it deep enough, and again, I pointed this out because Christians love to point out that they say, oh, well, the books are, the highest scholars believe that they're real, that they're history books or whatever. And I've told you before that science has to take that position because they have so many more of their superstars, if you want to call them that don't have as much evidence as the Bible has on other people. Meaning that if you throw out the Bible, then you have to throw out Aristophanes. You have to throw out all these other characters that they bank on. So they just kind of give the Jesus story. They go, whatever, okay, we'll believe it. Because if they went after that, even though Jesus is written about in 3, 4, 5 other books at the same time, and you've got all these manuscripts. So if you discount that for whatever reason, then you have to discount Aristophanes that you don't have anything, right? So it's just kind of how do you explain it? It's one of those things where if you start looking at the whole plate that you have, right? Talking about, like, let's think of it as a dinner plate or whatever. That, to me, I'm not going to believe something if I keep having to eliminate from that dinner plate until there's basically nothing left, nothing to chew on. And that's where I think that this ends up. And that's a scary thing because, again, I want the Bible to be true because I think it makes more sense that we were given an instruction book or some sort of guidebook. Okay, it just makes more sense. But really, when you start, peering into it, I don't think you get to that place. For instance, do we know what Jesus actually said? The answer is no. You can't know what Jesus actually said. Do we know what Jesus really did? And the answer is no. Right? So Sleepy Joe's here. He says, Earth is flat, God is real, Christ is king. Again, he's been told Christ is king. So you can believe that if you want. But you were given that belief. It was not something that you came to, that you came onto your own, that you then live in a world where you think that the Creator put us here with the sole intent of finding some other man to tell us what he believes, and then us saying, yeah, I believe that too. Right? That's that's what you basically have if you're going to believe that. So we don't know what Jesus really looked like. No idea. Right? Do we know what his personality was like? No, we don't. So we're unable to verify anything at all. We don't have video. We don't have audio. We don't have photos. We don't have access to a time machine. And therefore, again, so now we got question. The answer says faith is very interesting. How much do you have? A lot, a little, zero. How much? It's interesting. Well, faith is, to me, not a good thing. Now, religions describe it as being great, but it doesn't really work anywhere else in life. Okay. Well, I guess you would call, I don't know what you would call faith, right? So when you stop at a red light and then you go when it turns green, is that having faith in the other cars to follow the rules of the road? I don't know if that's necessarily faith. I was going to think that's somewhere we have faith in life. We have to hope that the other people on the road are following the road laws, or else we're going to get in an accident. But the Holy Spirit tells me logic is not all of human knowledge. The Holy Spirit is the essence of faith. The Holy Spirit tells you that Jesus and God are real. So the question is, why wouldn't the Holy Spirit tell the Muslims? Why wouldn't the Holy Spirit tell people in Japan? The Holy Spirit seems to have a Western-dominated opinion, or that he tends to go to those people. To me, that just is wholly irrational. So we just said we can't verify anything about Jesus. So I'm just saying, again, you can believe it. You can have faith. To me, I think that is, when you look at the world, and then, like I've reported it back to you guys, you look at the world and you realize that it is a direct result of what the Bible is laying out for us. You can either find it one way. You can say, oh, this is prophecy. The Bible is telling us exactly what the world would be like today. Or we can say, oh, we are being exactly who the Bible is written about. Like, as far as what the elite want. The elite want you to leave them alone. So what do they say? Let evil be evil, let wicked be wicked, right? They want you to leave them alone. They want you to let them get rich while you don't take any money. So what do they say? It's hard for a rich man to go to heaven. Harder to get a camel through an eye of a needle. So what happens? Christians give their money away. They donate it. They put it back into the church. They don't save it. They don't put money away for their families. And this is why the generational rich families in this country are not religious. They are all secular, because religious people don't do that. Why? Well, there's a guy in the Bible who told them not to. The guy said, don't save up treasures here on earth. Save up treasures in heaven. So here's this character who's promising you things in the afterlife. He's going to come. He's going to build a mansion for you. You're going to inherit the earth, all these things. But again, there's no evidence of that other than a book was written a long time ago that says that those things are going to happen. We have ancient manuscripts, which, number one, weren't written by God. Everybody agree? I believe everybody would agree with that. Yeah? Not written by God. Number two, weren't written by Jesus. Everyone would agree with that? I'm assuming so. So we've got ancient manuscripts not written by God, not written by Jesus. They weren't written by the disciples. Everyone would agree with that. Okay? We weren't written by any eyewitnesses. Right? So now you've got no eyewitnesses. It's not Jesus. It's not God. It's not Jesus' disciples. The people who say they weren't even eyewitnesses. So you've got basically 50 years, maybe it's like 40 years after an event that people are writing about it. And that to me is kind of a little bit, iffy. Imagine somebody who died in 1985 or something, and then we just start writing about them now, right? You're going to have a hard time putting facts together. It's not going to be very easy. It's tinyurl.com/cornerism. I should put that back on the screen. But I was having trouble with my, let's see if this works now. Oh, there's join the show. And, okay, it's a little too low there. Sorry, let me move this up so you can see it. tinyurl.com/cornerism. You got 4 minutes when you call in. Okay, so my Christian friends and family just use Jesus as the answer, like the globies use gravity. Yeah, sad, but that is what happens. Have they been altered? Yes. You talking about the documents? Well, here's the thing: we don't have any originals, so it's impossible to say whether they've been doctored. You don't have the originals, right? Okay, let's keep going here. We got where was that? Oh yeah, so eyewitnesses. There was no eyewitnesses that really wrote until many years down the road. So you notice that the Gospels never say, and then I saw Jesus, or then Jesus said to me, right? They don't say that. We do know that the gospel, according to Matthew, things like that were added way later by editors. They were not ever, that wasn't the originals. There wasn't an original name. Why the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John wrote them, we don't know. They're summarized parables, basically. Jesus speaks in parables, doesn't really talk much like a real person in there. But again, that could just be the teacher's way of doing it. Not saying that it's proof of anything. They weren't written in English. Of course, we know that, right? Jesus spoke, Aramaic. And the Gospels were first written in Greek, and then they weren't translated to English. Do you know when the first Gospel was translated to English? Anybody get this question right? Give me a year that you think the first Gospels were translated to English. It was, yep, there you go. Deborah says the Bible helps keep people poor. It's unfortunate because then I start thinking, are the churches involved in it, right? Because these churches get rich. They get richer than shit. These pastors get rich. And they must know that they're just collecting 10% of everyone's money and then they're using it on themselves. I mean, that's kind of crazy, right? I tried reading some Bible and then I got to a part where the daughter's getting the dad drunk so they could sleep with the father. And I was like, what? Yes, that's in there. Yes, very much so. Right. So the question becomes what Cappy said here is, why is that in there? Right? This is why I don't believe for 1 second that my morality or my decisions or my choices or anything equal to God. But there's just no reason for that to be in there. So either God just puts random things. I mean, the whole entire book of Leviticus could be summarized into one paragraph that basically says, break the neck of the dove, sprinkle it on the altar 7 times, do a little dance, have fun tonight. That could be the whole thing. But instead, it just repeats itself over and over and over and over again, changing the little bits here. Now, well, yeah, don't bring a turtle dove, actually bring a pigeon, and don't bring a pigeon if it's in this. So it's like, that's not, because I would like to look into Gnosticism, but then again, they have like, they're okay with some of these books. They don't even think it's a problem. They just are like, oh, Jesus is word. There's the Jesus inside of us or something. And to me, it's like, well, I get that you're taking the scriptures and you're trying to apply a larger knowledge to them or like a higher mind. But some of this stuff is so blatantly disgusting that it shouldn't be in there in the first place. And I'm assuming Gnostics actually do call the scriptures divine. Don't they? I believe so. I should probably have like a Marg Leeds on or somebody who would have a better job at, would know more than me about that, for sure. So we don't have any of the originals we talked about. And I don't think any of how do I say this? I don't think all of the Gospels, all the New Testament is even claimed to be inspired. Did Paul claim that he was inspired by God to write the scriptures? I don't know. Not sure. I think that Paul was just giving his own opinion. He wasn't like that wasn't like scripture. I don't think anybody was writing scripture. I don't think any book of the Bible was somebody sat down and said, I'm writing the Holy Scriptures. Maybe if you give Moses in the first 5 books, but after that, I'm not sure. Just reading Corinthians 1:7-25, he says, now about virgins, I have no command from the Lord, but I give a judgment as one who by the Lord's mercy is trustworthy. So now we've got a Bible writer who's about to tell you a story, or about to give his opinions on virgins, who leads off by saying, I have no command from the Lord, but I give judgment as one who by the Lord's mercy is trustworthy. So he's about to give you his opinion. That's what that is. People want to call that scripture. Go ahead. I do not put my trust in men who want to give me their opinion based on what they think. It's just not my cup of tea. And I don't think the creator, it really comes down to that more than anything. It comes down to, do I see a creator that would demand that? And I could be wrong. Maybe I get to the gates one day and God's like, you didn't believe any of the books? I'm like, no, because, and then he's like, well, you had to. It's required. Like, yeah, but we didn't have any, it's too bad. It's, the world I created, Jaron, just take it or leave it. And so I'm ass out. I got to go. Got to go down to the different places. So we know that there's actual miracles said to have taken place in the Bible, whereas no other book that reports miracles and things that are just not possible in physics do we readily accept ever. We never would do that. Why? Because it's ludicrous that we would believe in things that we've never seen, right? So if I told you that tomorrow there's going to be a blue, elephant that's going to come around the corner driving a fire truck, you'd probably call me a liar. And you'd say, why? You know, and I'd say, why do you say that? You say, because I've never seen that before. There's no blue elephants, number one. Well, I guess they're kind of blue, but they don't drive fire trucks. Okay, so great. But if we have a book that then said, an ancient book that said that a blue elephant drove a fire truck, you wouldn't believe that either, because you're basing that off of what you see in real life. You've never seen that. Why would it be in that book? There's no use in buying into that. Now, all of a sudden, there's a book that, number one, it was handed to you and told you God wrote it. Big problem there. You've already put a preconceived bias into these people's minds. Now they believe that they're reading something divine. What that does is it allows you to read something and gloss over the bad parts. There must be a reason. I don't know what he meant there, but it must be something loving. And then you make all the excuses in the world.
Yes.
I don't know where that's happening here. One second. Oh, maybe it's here. No? Oh, yeah, here. There we go. Supporting which somebody bought me 2 smoothies. Thank you very much. I'll have to go look who that was. Now I've got it turned on. Now I won't miss it next time. So when we say Jesus is born of a virgin, right? Being the Son of God or one with God and all those things. That's a little bit okay. So he's born of a virgin, even though none of us would believe that ever in any situation ever. Just make sure you understand that. So for some reason, because it's written in an ancient book that we don't even have the originals for, that wasn't written in your language, that nobody around Jesus' time wrote, that you're going to buy into that one. Yeah, no, I do think he was born a virgin. Okay, great. He heals the blind, the deaf, the lame, the mute, the crippled, the paralyzed. He rose somebody from the dead in Lazarus, right? He stops a storm by his voice. He turns water into wine. He turns 5 loaves of bread. I'm sure it had gluten in it too. I'm sure it was full of it. And 2 fish into enough food to feed 5,000. And then 7 loaves of bread and a few small fish is enough to feed 4,000. Pretty impressive. And I've brought that up because it is funny the way it's written, that it's the literal next chapter on the next page. And the story is told again. And in both stories, the disciples say, when Jesus says, well, we got to feed these people, they're both like, well, dear teacher, where would we get money? Where would we get enough food to feed all this crowd? So then when Jesus says, go get this, go get that, I'm going to make it multiply, that would be the talk of the town. It'd be the talk of the area of what Jesus was capable of doing. So why in the Bible, in the next page, does it tell the story again at a different location? And again, the disciples are standing around and say, well, but Jesus, how will we ever feed them we only have 3 fishes and 5 loaves? And I mean, that just tells you it's not real stories. It's written as it's like a repeat. It's like a parable there. It's not actual things that happened, or else why wouldn't the disciples know? And you can't tell me, well, oh, that was actually the first. Well, then the second time they should have known. In both stories, the disciples don't know what's going on. They're asking Jesus, how are we going to do this? And Jesus says, just do it. Just go take these baskets and take them around the crowd. And it's just, I think that if that really happened, there would be so many more writings about it. Where's all the writings from people saying, I saw Jesus multiply bread and fish? We don't see that. We don't see it. Walking on water, just not possible. Okay, not for any human being with any kind of density at all. You are going to fall into the water unless you're Chris Angel and can get there early and set up a plexiglass. It's possible then. He was resurrected 3 days, and which again is kind of weird. It's Friday to Sunday, so Friday at noon to Saturday at noon, and then Saturday at noon to Sunday at noon. Isn't that 2 days? Again, maybe it's and I don't want to speak that I know the exact days that he rose. Some people say it was Monday. I don't know that, right? I saw this one line. I can't remember where it was, but to kind of settle the people who have the whatchamacallit. Oops, sorry, I didn't see this on the screen. The people who have the problem with the Trinity argument that went back and forth. There is things that tell you, like for instance, God tells Isaac, I believe, that Israel is his first son, right? Or something like that. I'd have to look it up exactly. But why would God say that if he knew Jesus was already born his first son? So you can see there's definitely disconnects here. And the reason why is because people over years have tried to piece together. This is why Jesus now exists in the Old Testament. is simply because he has to, because at some point in the New Testament he says, before Abraham I am, and people get confused. Well, he must be, he was there as well, right? But that doesn't really seem to make much sense. So Jesus was where when God was creating the Garden of Eden? Where was Jesus? So not really sure. All Lives Matter says Christ did many miracles, but if you don't believe, Jesus still saved and loves you, even if you mock him or you don't believe him. Right, but that you do realize that what you just said there is a massive belief. You cannot tie anything to that. So it's okay that you go around telling people your beliefs. But I'm just saying, we tend to, in the world today, if somebody's going to make claims, we tend to say, where's your evidence for that? So for you to tell me that Christ did many miracles, where's your evidence for that? Oh, the Bible. Okay, thank you. Jesus still saves and loves you. Where's the evidence of that? Jesus told me I'm not worthy of him if I don't love him more than my mother and father. And I don't. And if I don't love him more than I do my children, which I don't. I've never met Jesus. I would be an insane person if I loved Jesus more than I love my family who's here on earth. So why is that written in there? Now you could say, oh, it's a metaphor. It's not really meant to be. Okay, well then I don't know if we're putting out holy scriptures that are people's key to salvation, probably not smart to put metaphors in there sometimes and not others, and then not tell anybody which one's which. All right, let's go to Theo Kirk. Oops. Sorry, I dropped Theo, I think. Wait, Theo, you there? Who did I just... How about David? What's happening here? Oh, it was David. David, you there? I just dropped Theo. Theo, you were on there. I was going to you, and then you're on.
I'm here. What's up, man? How you doing?
Sleepy Joe, I don't know even how that question can come up. Did you not listen to the beginning of the show? Have you never listened to me in the last years? Jaron, simple question. Do you believe in a creator? 100%. It's not even... the question is outrageous. Go ahead.
How you doing, man?
Good, you?
Pretty good. You're not in Hollywood tonight?
No, why should I be? Oh, no.
WrestleMania?
Yeah, no, I'm going to watch it after, but I'm not going.
I'm probably going to watch it tomorrow, too.
Yeah, they got both days. I don't know which matches are on which day. I haven't even looked into it much, but I tend to watch when that comes around.
Yeah, they got the Roman match tomorrow, so that's pretty much all I watch is the World Championship.
Who is he going against? Cody Rhodes?
Yeah, which is crazy. He's like the big star now, I guess.
That's so weird.
I haven't watched in years, but I'll try.
Me neither. I just saw that, but I was like, Cody Rhodes. I mean, that guy used to be terrible.
Right.
Stardust, wasn't his name?
Yeah, he went to Stardust, and he went to AEW and made his whole like big career for himself over there. So they brought him in as like that.
Yeah, because he basically owns it, doesn't he?
I think he maybe did buy it with the Young Bucks.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if it still owns it or what, but I know Jericho's the big member there. But anyway, go ahead. I'll start your clock.
So, I mean, I think the biggest problem with like trying to figure out if it's true or not is like we don't even know our own history.
Right.
Like it's such a controversy of what's even real in our past. Like I tried talking to my grandma. And then I talked to her about like simple things about like, okay, so I know you were from like East Northern Germany. Did your parents grow up there? And she's like, no, we had to move because of the Russians. Like after World War II, they like kicked us out of the area we were at. So where I grew up was somewhere different. And I'm like, okay, so where you were at, what's that called? And then did your mom grow up there? She's like, yeah, I think so. I'm like, okay. And then did her mom grow up there? She's like, I don't know. I'm like, what? So it's 4 generations back from me. And I don't even know my own family history, let alone the world's or what's going on. So how are we supposed to know about Jesus 2,000 years ago?
Right. And why is it always that way with the families? I mean, I don't know.
You would think that that's the stuff that would be like.
Yeah, you would keep that. You would keep that. Absolutely. Right. Now, we say that, and even we don't even keep what we have from our families. But I'm saying the fact that almost everybody I've ever talked to has that same kind of story. No, I know my parents. I know my grandparents. Kind of know my great-grandparents. But after that, I don't have a clue.
Yeah, so that is kind of like the whole Tartaria thing where they say there's a reset in the 1800s. That's kind of evidence of that. It's not proof, but it's kind of evidence of it.
Yeah, I tend to think that there definitely is some sort of reset. And I think that it'd be very easy to just have one generation of children go through school with the new textbooks, and then that would be the beliefs. Be that simple. You really could.
Yeah. But what did you do to their parents?
Well, I don't know if people know enough things So, for instance, if let's say everybody gets wiped out on the earth, but you and 5 other people, are you going to be able to? You're going to be able to explain to them how to build a microwave? Are you
No,
going?
no way.
Right. So there's so many things in this world that we wouldn't even have a clue. I mean, we would start telling. They'd think we're talking about magic, right? Oh, it's a box that you put in, you plug it in. What So I could see where even if you had the parents and the children left, you just need to educate one generation. And if the kids come home and the parents would just kind of go along with it. I mean, they're not going to be like, no, that's not true. It's actually it just because probably they were taught the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that when the reset happens that they would bring out a whole new belief system. They would still be the same belief system. So there really wouldn't be nothing new, but it would just be the timeline that would be the problem. Right. But I see what you're saying. So if we don't know our own history, how could we be expected to believe in things? And where I look at it is I said, well, if the creator knew the future at all and knew that some of these things would happen, then they would have to have predicted them to know, okay, well, it's not going to do me any good to leave a book because the book's going to get corrupted and these people are going to not be able to tell their own history and not going to be able to prove any of this. So
yeah, but the thing is, like, Jesus, though, when he decided like who he wanted to heal and stuff, because like some of his apostles he like didn't even heal, but he would like heal people who just had great faith. So it's like the book is like pushing people who don't need logical answers to things. All you need to do is have faith,
right,
and you'll be healed. So it's like kind of like telling you, no, don't go looking to try to make it a logical case for Christ. Just believe. So it's like,
right, and then people tell me
it's impossible.
There's two different things, right? There's that. But there's that, and then there's also the prove all things, leave no stone unturned, which is like that doesn't go hand in hand. You can't say prove all things and then tell us Jesus rose from the dead. How can you prove that? What do you mean? So the Bible's contradictory in that fashion. You can't say this is required for your salvation, believe Jesus died for your sin, whatever, and then say, oh, but prove all things.
Right.
So
you don't get it both ways. And then if, like you always say too, if the book was divine, like if it was 100% perfect, then you would be able to be like, okay, well, it's evidence that it came from the creator, it came from God. But then you find all the problems with it. So it's like, so it can't come from God. Our history's messed up. Like we don't know what's right or what's wrong. It contradicts itself.
And we know that history is written by the winners, right? So to believe in history is to for sure trust in the words of people who probably annihilated other people.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
and then I think so. The only other proof that we'd be able to have, because like we can say, oh, people changed the Bible, so they ruined it. And then you always talk about Romans 13, how the governments are put there by God.
Right.
But like, so I guess the devil's advocate to that would be like God has a plan for humanity, right? And he wants to bring his end, and the world has to get bad. But then it ties into, oh, well, Christians just let the world turn to shit then. They don't care because they're waiting for Jesus. So it's like it could be a psyop too.
Well, the Jews are doing the same thing. The Jews believe that the Messiah won't come until the world is decrepit. So they try and bring the world down, essentially, because they think that then their Messiah will come back. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I mean, I guess the best evidence I've been given is like Austin will take me through some of the old Hebrew, and we'll look at it. And definitely, there's an attempt to make God look bad in the Bible. So for whatever reason, and I'm not sure who's doing that, but they've taken Hebrew words that are not as bad as maybe we might take them, but it's because the English word they put in there is terrible, and they didn't have to use that word. They didn't have to. So
yeah, it was like, I think I know what you're talking about. I listened to Austin's stream where he was talking about like the desire to be God, and how they changed the words, saying that not that like he didn't have the desire to be God, and they changed the word somehow. I can't remember. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I can't put it together.
Yeah, and I mean even that alone, right? Like if God actually came down and spoke to people and said, "Don't put words into my mouth," then people probably wouldn't. Like, to me, it's like somebody realized along the way, like, oh, we can change these words. They're not actually from God. Because otherwise, people would just be, I don't know, it's just weird to me to think that people would just be in the face. God said, don't do this, and they're just doing it. Nope, I'm going to do it anyway. Just seems very weird. I wouldn't do those things. But again, unless I felt or knew that wasn't the God.
So we would have to, the only other way to validate that it is the true God is through the people that follow that God. And then when you look at those people, they're not even showing signs of divinity. Like they're not, like Christians were supposed to be the first truthers, weren't they?
Yes.
Like they're the ones. So nowadays, a lot of Christians aren't even close to truthers. Like they wear masks. They fell for the COVID thing. They shut down their church.
Many of them do. Yep. Many of them don't. I mean, it's a good mix, but I don't think it's any better than any other religion. It's not like, oh, Christians really stepped up for that, but the other, no, it's just it seems like all the tops of the churches too, right, are going to be just like corporations. So if the government comes in and says, hey, you're going to wear this mask or else we're going to shut you down, they're going to have their people wear masks because they don't want to lose money. So they're certainly not standing up on behalf of God or anything like that.
So they're going to marry all gay people too.
Eventually, yeah. Yeah, eventually they will. Because they don't really have an option, because if they don't go along, then they're just going to be ostracized. Now, again, I know how it is where you kind of stood up for yourself. You said, I'm not backing down, And now, like, I'll just never grow my number of watchers. It just won't happen because now I'm shadow banned, and it's kind of like, so then you have to start thinking to yourself, well, could I have gotten more truth out by not by conforming to some of what so it gets really weird, because then you start almost asking yourself, like, is that what everybody else is doing? So for instance, let's take Alex Stein, for example. So Alex Stein, who came along, was on my show, kind of messing around, having some fun, starts going to these parent-teacher conferences or whatever, the city council meetings, starts making a name for himself. His stuff starts going viral. He starts kind of finding a niche, this culture jamming niche. He ends up with his own show on Blaze. I guess it was Gavin McGinnis who said something in passing like, what, do you think the Earth's flat? And Alex said no. Now, everybody hates him for that. A lot of people are upset. Me, I kind of look at it, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I don't want to pass judgment yet, because I do see that if you just got this show on Blaze and it hasn't really taken off yet, that maybe there's ways to work Flat Earth into it. I can think of 10, I can think of 100 right now, but I'm saying, to just say that somebody's like, oh, well, this guy's a sellout and this, well, so what would people have rather had happen? That he said, yes, I do believe it, and then it became a thing, and then Glenn Beck gets rid of him, and then he's back to being on Conspiracy Castle with 3,000 people watching his show. Is that?
Right. It just sucks that you have to like hide some truths to tell others, though. But
I know
suck. That's the world we live in. So
yeah,
it's
it
like
sucks.
You got to kind of play the game.
Which I don't even know. I'm asking that question is, do you kind of play the game? I mean, like, I try and say everything. Now, I know certain venues I can't, like at YouTube, you might not be able to say certain things. But,
well,
and that sucks.
If you want to take it from like, why are some people like not wanting to vote for Trump this upcoming time? Because they're like, oh, he's not a complete truther. So it's like actually hurting Trump because he doesn't speak about the World Economic Forum or NWO at all. But DeSantis is out there talking about, oh, I'm never going to bring a worldwide digital currency to Florida. Like DeSantis is actually talking about he knows about the WF and he doesn't want any of their plans to go through. And then Trump's not talking about that stuff. And he did the whole Operation Warp Speed with the vaccine. So eventually it gets to a point where it hurts you. So Alex eventually has to come out and talk about Flat Earth.
Yeah, and I think, and according to him, he is. I'm going to see him on the 24th, I think, and we're going to talk about some ideas. I think there could be great things. Like I kind of told him, like, what if your wife's boyfriend starts talking Flat Earth? So now he can go on the show and be like, and my wife's boyfriend won't shut up about Flat Earth. So I said, you can keep it away from your belief and kind of bring it out like it's, and then talk about it often. Like, and then you got to keep talking about this. The horizon rises eye level, whatever. There's ways to do it.
Right, that's hilarious. Actually,
it is funny. It'd be funny. And then, because then he'd be like, and he's got to deal with it. And he tried telling his wife something that, this guy's an idiot that you're with. And then she said, no, she's believing it too. So now Alex is like, okay, well, there's a lot of things he can do. He's very creative like that. But I'm thinking, sometimes I think we give people too hard of a time right at the bat. I mean, who did he deny it to? I mean, it's like, is there anybody out there that now is not a flat earther because Alex said no? No, it didn't really hurt anything except for people's feelings, right? Like, I guess. I don't know. I guess it's a weird position I would much rather people just be honest, but I could see something being said to me that maybe I answer differently than I might have. Dave Weiss got in trouble because during an interview, somebody asked him about COVID, and he said, oh, I got it, my wife got it, and we're fine. And everybody gave a big old deal. It's the end of the world. Dave said COVID exists. No, he was it was a place where he was at that it wasn't the time to say, I don't believe in COVID. It would have derailed the whole conversation already. Just would have done more damage.
It's like trying to bring up that we don't believe in atoms and electrons.
Yeah, you just pick your pick your times, right? This is not the right time to do that. Jaron, can I get a hotline to contact you? I seem to be in a lot of arguments the last few days over the moon landing and the flat Earth. It's very tiring. Well, yeah. Oh, anyway, David, what else you got? No, I'll let you go.
What's the plan for the channel? Because it seems like you've really gone through the Bible hard to kind of like show that there's no way to prove that it's true. Like, I mean, I think you've kind of been able to discredit what the Bible does and says. And
Yeah, I think I want to.
contradictions.
Well, I didn't want to discredit it as much as I wanted people to be able to see where my position is, right? Because when I kind of give a hard time to people, and then they're like, "Well, what do you believe? Who's your God?" and all these things. So, the plan of the channel was to kind of do these phone calls. Now, I do think it's the best idea for me to put the NASA Comedy Hour in alternate weeks with this one, because I think I can go every 2 weeks. So it's going to just stay the same for now. Having people call in, I still am always open. I want people to know too, I'm open for changing my mind by all means. But you're going to have a hard time, because to me, how are you going to show me that the Yahweh character? That's why I think Gnosticism has a better chance, because they're not going to technically go down that road. But you're not going to be able to show me that the Yahweh character is worthy of worship. That people are afraid; they're very fearful of the Old Testament God. They think they're going to be put into some, hellfire or something, because otherwise, there's just and in any other way of life, we would recognize that is a character that you would not worship, right?
Yeah. The only problem is if we're admitting that, they changed the way that like some of the verses, then we could say, they changed the entire Old Testament and made Yahweh into an evil guy.
Right.
So it's like, how far are you willing to go? It's so hard to prove its legitimacy.
Well,
because
I think
you
that
you accept one flaw that this one verse was changed. Well, what other ones were changed? Then?
Right.
Like,
And then
how
if
far
you
would it
say
go?
you're still going to believe in it, say, well, how do you still believe in it if you know that some of it has changed? So the thing is, I mean, somebody asked in the chat, Sleepy Joe says, why do all the controllers hate Christ? If people hated Christ, there would not be a Bible in every hotel room. Okay. They don't hate Christ. They make it look like they hate Christ so that you follow Christ. It's a classic psyop. They do it all the time. And so what better way to make you fall into line of being a Christian than to act like they worship Satan, right? Now, here's the thing.
It seems like it's rebounding too right now, Christianity actually. Seems
No,
like
the Orthodox Christians are taking off too. I mean, I don't understand that at all. It's a very, we know these people. If they want something erased, they erase it, right? They don't put Bibles out for free. They don't not tax churches. I mean, that is the clue enough for you to realize the United States government will tax anything, but not churches. And then you say, why do they hate Christ? If they hated Christ, they would tax the shit out of churches. Why don't they tax? Because they want churches. They want you there praying and things on your Sundays.
But you think they're going to change that though, right? Like they're going to start going harder at Christians to try to push people more towards it and other people more towards away from it, because it is like the science versus Christian era right now.
But they don't care which one you are. They don't care. So science and religion are both belief systems. So to the elite, they can know what you're up to as long as you fall into a belief system. The scariest people are those who are in the middle, because the people in the middle can actually listen to evidence or listen to ideas and choose which one is best, right? So for instance, when we hear about the vaccine or when we hear about wearing a mask or whatever, I can look at that from a middle position and I can make my choice up for myself of whether I think it's necessary for me to wear a mask or not. Well, the people that are at a church, if their church decides they are wearing masks, then everybody wears masks. Science decided everybody wear masks, and everybody for science wore masks, right? So it's these belief systems are simply ways of creating cattle that fall in line when they need to. So
you think they already have the Christians as the cattle, and they're not going to have to do anything more extreme, like trying to pretend like the government's more against them, like by actually saying you have to pay taxes now? Because it seems like the left, especially and Democrats, would love to push that.
Yeah, they would.
Churches, we make them pay taxes and make them marry gays, and
I think that it's multifaceted. They love division, so it's a perfect setup. You have two belief systems that are diametrically opposite. Then you have the idea of they have vastly different. Like you're never going to get together on abortion issue. One group feels it's okay to kill babies. The other group says don't kill babies. Okay, so there's no coming together there. Either people who say we should kill babies need to realize that we shouldn't, or people that say that we shouldn't need to realize that we should. So it's never going to happen. It's on purpose. It's by design. It's these issues, the hot button issues that are by design separated so that you have division. The same thing with race, right? the idea of race is meant to bring division, and they're so good at it. Like, for instance, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I don't think I even thought anything bad at all, like about, different races. And now I'm like, man, if these guys get that $5 million for reparations, like, so they've created a situation where now, because they're being racist, right? What's more racist than giving one race money and not the other?
Exactly.
They're pretty much nothing more racist than that. And yet, you either have to take the position of, no, they should get whatever they want for. So you're either taking the white guilt position, or you take the position that, no, that's bullshit. Either one is a racial issue that you've now created a divide between you and the other race. So these things are done by design. They're not, nobody wants the world to come together. Nobody wants, because the government only exists as long as they have something to exist for. So if the country is falling apart, racism, crime, there's happy time story hour.
They want eventually the Agenda 2030 plan to be fully implemented, though, and when that is done, there is no more Christianity, though, right? Because everyone worships the state,
right? And I think they do say there'll be a one world religion, but I'm not. At that point, they wouldn't need one. Not when we're all just slaves. I mean, at that point, I don't know if their religions are going to really help anybody. No religion says to really fight back. I mean, at least like Christianity, I'm talking about. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one to say which one. And
it seems like science is definitely the World Economic Forum side. Like the state backs science,
yes,
and then the people back God. But it's just, who is God? Where is it? But
correct.
The state would love to get rid of religion, I think, eventually for the whole plan. Like, I know they like it now because then they know what your belief system is. But eventually they would just love you just to be under their thumb, and whatever we say goes. And it's like COVID tyranny. Because it's the science. Just believe in the science, trust the science.
Yeah, and I think that they've already started to. I mean, they already have this whole story about, science cucking. Religion cucking to the whole heliocentric system and things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if religion was still here and just kind of slowly allows some of these things to take place. But again, we don't know those things. I tend to think there's going to be a reset before all that. I don't think that they'll really
you
get
don't believe
that.
The 2030 plan of the World Economic Forum, where they're going to
that's definitely. And the 15-minute cities and all that. No, I do think that is their direction. But what I'm saying is, I don't think a belief in religion hurts that. There's nothing about being a Christian that is going to hurt their plans. Because being a Christian says to be meek, to be complacent. Governments put there by God. To go against the governments, to go against God. Love your slave masters, love them earnestly, even if they treat you bad. So there's things in the Bible that basically tell people to allow these things to happen. I don't see them fighting back. I don't see many people fighting back now. Again, for this system to end, we just need 50 million men. How many? What is there? 350 in the world, in the United States, 350 million, 300 million. So there's got to be at least 50 million adult men who can just cause ruckus, who can go and just upturn tables, and it doesn't have to even be like violent against people. But that's enough people. We've never even seen anything like that. Never seen 50 million. That's in the history of the world. There's never been 50 million people in the same spot. So I think the record's like 6 million people in the same spot. But the kind of numbers that would be would just be overwhelmingly, and it would be a consciousness thing, and it would be. But the thing is, we don't have fighters anymore. There isn't people that would do that. Why? People have families. People have jobs. People go to church. People are part of it. So they've just done a really good job of setting it up in a way that makes them very difficult to topple. So they either going to implode within,
they're going to incentivize people enough where people will just be like, no, it's better this way. Robots have all the jobs and we get a universal basic income. What am I going to fight against?
Right.
They're going to make it easy for you.
And again, some of those things would be great if we had the right government in charge. That's where it's so difficult to see, is that, look at all these robotics and AI, and isn't this great? Yes, in a perfect world, it'd be great. People would work a lot less. A lot of these jobs would be automated. But again, in our world, it does not work better because they've set it up in a way where you need money. And if you don't have a job, then you're not going to make money. If you're not going to make money, so the whole thing kind of starts to fall apart unless they keep people having jobs. This is why there's all these middlemen added to all these systems, right? You don't need all these middlemen all the time, but they've kind of set up the world where we have all these middlemen doing sales jobs and things like that. They don't really need them, but they do need to have people make money, and they need people not to be at home being able to research. They don't want
Yeah,
people
that's
doing
what
that.
I think it's about, man. All my friends, dude, they don't look into anything. They're all into fantasy stuff, like sci-fi movies, like all the superhero movies. They play like Magic card game. These are 30-year-old men. I'm like,
Right.
dude, we're 30 now. We're not teenagers. You guys act like you're teenagers still. Like, shouldn't we be caring about the real problems of the world, not fantasy stuff? So I think just like technology has just completely engulfed society where people they don't even pay attention.
No, and
And
they're
then if
getting
you
close with
say, hey, you can
VR
play
and
video games and we'll give you a monthly income and you can just play video games. We don't
Right.
need you at work anymore. The state's gonna provide for you now. I don't think people would revolt. I think people would be like, oh my God.
you know, and
It's
it might be
amazing. I don't have to
you know,
work.
look at like I'll tell you one thing for marijuana. The marijuana you can get from the clubs here in California now is so good, and I mean by good, it'll just knock you the shit, you know, knock you right out. But you can tell that it's like I bet you that's creating a malaise in people, right? I mean, if you were ever a pothead in high school, how many fights did your pothead friends get into? Not many, right? It's not a fighting drug. It's not. You're not going to go out and you know, let's go talk to boxers and UFC fighters and see how many are smoking weed before their match. It's going to be none.
The jiu-jitsu guys love it though, marijuana.
Do they before matches?
Yeah. I don't think before matches,
Right,
but
okay,
they
sorry.
love to
Yeah, the aftermatch. Okay,
before rolling they do, not like UFC, but before rolling, just
Okay.
jiu-jitsu. They like Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz, and a lot of the jiu-jitsu community is huge on marijuana actually because they think it like opens their mind to help make them more creative, how to get out of problems and stuff.
And
I think when
that's the
they're
scariest
playing-
thing is like how do you fight back from that? Because I mean, all you have to do is look at letters written in the 1800s, 1900s. The people were smarter. They were more willing to go to bat for what they believed in, right? To actually go and do something. And now we have a lot more people, but there's just not that same fight. And this is why they gave us like sports, right? Sports gets out that inner, you know, fight that you have in you. And sports allow you pick a team and you cheer for that team and you hate the other team. And so they've done this like masterful job of.
It's perfect, dude. It's a perfect slavery system.
It is.
You don't even know you're a slave.
slavery, and you don't even know it. Yep. It's and then the taxes. I mean, what happened with taxes? I mean, you can read books written in like 1910 by guys saying like, "Oh, pretty soon they're going to start asking for taxes." Like, I mean, this is a brand new thing. There wasn't even taxes before. There wasn't income
it used
taxes.
to just be an income tax only if there was war, right? If there was no war, there was
Right.
no income tax.
But then they started false flags, right? So a government comes to you and says, "Hey, we're getting a threat from over there, and so we actually need 2 pennies now." And the guys are like, "All right, we'll give you 2 pennies to keep us safe." Great. Then they come back a week later. Now we got a threat from over there. It's now 3 pennies. And eventually the people fought back and said, "No, you don't get any more money." So what do they go do? Go do a false flag, have somebody attack us, and then they, "Oh, look it now because you didn't give us enough money, we got." So, and I'm wondering, I mean, it's kind of obvious too, that if you ever have governments, they must always do this because you're always going to have that kind of bad. It's why I say if you're a CEO of a company of more than 50 people, you're probably an asshole, because to get to that position, you have to step on people's necks. You have to lie. You have to fire people. You got to do a lot of shady shit. So it's like in politics rises, what do they say? Absolute power, whatever. But is there one that says like absolute power begets absolute power or something like that? It's you have these evil people and they're only going to get more of the same. You're not going to all of a sudden have some up and coming politician who's like, "Oh, savior, this guy believes all the right things and let's just bring him in." They want to make you believe that. That's why they tell you, if you don't like the government, go vote. Well, they tell you that because they've got control over both parties. I mean, of course, there's, you know, it's like, of course, it's like if I was getting money from 2 different sides where when people donated, and then it would be coming to people and say, "Hey, if you don't like this guy, then donate to the other guy." Well, okay, but in the end, I get both.
Freedom. It's an illusion of freedom.
Right. And so it's a scary kind of a proposition, but I just don't know for myself. Do you just remove yourself from it and try and work on that? Or do you try and,
I think that's the only way, man, to have a breakaway civilization. I don't think, like I was saying, I think everyone, when it comes to the digital currency that they're going to bring out, the CBDC, I think everyone's just going to bow down, man. We saw it with COVID. Like,
so let's think of this. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this.
Up,
Am I allowed to say this on YouTube? I'm just going to, hypothetical. We're creating a plot for a sci-fi movie right now. Okay. And in this movie, the people of the movie are in the same predicament all of us are in. Okay. How many people would the people in that movie need to actually kill to end that current trajectory and create something anew? So you'd have to, Klaus Schwab, George Soros. We could just start naming names. you know, people that in Merkel and people, you know, Castro and all. Okay, so let's just start. How is that number huge?
No, I would think it's only 10% of the people you would need, but they need to all be strong and 100% for it.
Oh, you mean 10% of the people to do the bidding of what needs to be done? Because the number of people is very small, right? The ones that, like, you could, if I'm, what I'm saying is, in this hypothetical movie that we're talking about, how many people would actually need to be destroyed in order to fix the predicament that the people in the movie are in?
Oh, I don't even think it's 10% actually.
No,
It's
it'd be way less, right?
yeah, way less, way less.
Yeah, I mean, I might be way less. I mean, because really, if you start to think about how many people are running the whole thing, I mean, 1,000 would be way too many in my mind.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So again, that's not that tall of a tale for this movie. Just saying, not that crazy of a task.
Then everyone's a damn domestic terrorist, and the state turns against you. And when the state turns against,
But if you, let's say that, but maybe that's the sacrifice. So we don't think about sacrifice anymore. We're also, so we have to remember, people went to war and died, sacrificing for their country. Now we're at a point where we're like, well, I'm not doing that, right? Well, no, could we? I mean, I hate to say that might be what, but let's say that we did have in this hypothetical movie that we have a bunch of people who decide, no, we've had enough. This cannot go on. And so they go and try and eliminate the bad seeds, right? And so they do. Let's say they eliminate 1,000 seeds somehow. And so now, if those 1,000 seeds are not there, does that alone correct the issue? Thank you. That's what I was trying to say.
I think it's like a house of cards. I think that they always have the next person ready to take the job.
It's a good point. They could. And that's what I'm saying is I don't know if is that simple. Yeah, John says we gave our governments too much money and power. Absolutely. Yeah, you have to keep government small. You have to, the people, and I know a lot of people are not constitutionalists or they don't believe in the Constitution, whatever. But I mean, if you read the Constitution, it's a good document, but you have to stick to it, right? You can't start letting them get away with things that are clearly not in the Constitution. Like right now, what they say, somebody went to jail for 10 years for writing a meme about Hillary Clinton. That
really?
Yeah, that's what they say. I mean, again, I don't know if that story's true, if it's on the news. But it doesn't mean it's true. But again, if that's true, I mean, that is, it goes right in the face of the First Amendment. So,
yeah.
And again, everything they're doing to kind of get away from the Second Amendment, if we're just able to write laws around to get it, well, then, you know, that document's not going to last long and it's going to be gone. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you could think of the Bible as the first constitution, and look how the Vatican went against that so many times.
Right. Yeah. And again, maybe it's because a document probably does need to change in times. But again, it's the problem I always have is in my mind, I have this perfect idea of what government should be and what life should be. And then I remember that we don't live there. So it's like when somebody asked me about a driverless car, would you ever get in one? Well, in what world? In a world where everything is correct and there's a government that cares about you and a police force that really does police work. Yeah, I would have no problem getting in a driverless car. In this world, I would absolutely would have, because they'll just drive me off a cliff. So, you know, it's kind of like, well, how do you when you always have to answer things it's like when people say, well, do you believe in voting, Jaron? Well, yeah, I believe in voting, but not in the corrupt system that we have now. And they're like, well, couldn't we do crypto voting? And then we would be able to keep, again, in a perfect world, yes, but not in this world. These guys will just fake ballots, fake people. I mean, you can't keep track of that. So it's just too much faith in men. And we know that men are power hungry. And we know that they pretty much will do anything to stay in power. We know how easy it is for people to lie. I just wonder sometimes if that's what God is showing us here. If that's what, I don't know what really good that does other than to, realize humanity sucks. But people take advantage of each other constantly. It happens every single day in every single people's lives. They don't even realize it. And that's sad that we don't have really anybody that we can trust anymore.
Yeah.
Because trust is important.
You saying that brought up a question I had for you actually about something you spoke of before.
Sure.
So I know how you believe kind of in the reincarnation thing, and that maybe like when we die, there's another place that we go where we like kind of chill out for a while before we decide we want to come back down here again.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that like souls then, so you're a soul, that God created, because we have 7.5, almost 8 billion souls on the earth right now. So
right.
we're all 8 billion souls the same age created right away, and then you just had to wait your turn to get a human body, or is he still creating souls?
Yeah, that I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you would know that, but I would assume that they're still being created, or that they've. Well, yeah, because God is, in my opinion, God is just, we are each a piece of God, right? So he can just separate out as many times as he wants.
Okay, so he has to be cognitive to do that then, though, right?
To separate out?
Yeah, like when a new baby's born, then he would have to know, like within all of us, oh, I got to take another little piece out of myself for that baby.
Oh, I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe it's as simple as that life needs to have God in it. Meaning that, like, I don't think that the world runs without the creator. So, yeah, you could look at it from the top down, like God's outside of this looking at everything. The problem I have with that is then you have to lead you to the questions of why the bad things and why doesn't God stop this and why, right? Then that gets a little bit shady for me. So to me, it makes more sense that God is experiencing everything. And so this way, there isn't a question, there isn't a God that can come and interrupt into a free will world. That would be the opposite of free will. So God is operating within us. Now, if let's say Miss and I get pregnant, and so as soon as that baby's conceived, that's already a piece of God. It's already there. Now,
so the little piece of you and Missa that was God,
correct,
creates that baby and goes into him. So it just breaks off over and over again.
Correct.
Forever.
It's just like a severed piece or like and again, that's whether you want to call that the divine spark, because I'm not saying that Miss and I's conscience, let's say your morals, it's not like our morals go in there, that there has to be that initial set that God would put there. Now, how that all works, I don't know. It's just my way of looking at it works better to me I don't have to answer questions like, why does God allow wicked things to happen? Well, it doesn't necessarily allow anything to happen, but all things to happen is the same, right? So like people ask about, what about earthquakes? Why would God make earthquakes? These and that. Well, we don't know. We don't know if it's because we've been pulling oil out of the ground.
Yeah.
It's causing earthquakes, right?
Yeah,
So,
I don't think earthquakes would be natural here. That doesn't make sense.
Doesn't really make sense to me either. I mean, I guess if there's little shifting plates and they kind of, resettle, maybe. But,
God's creation of the earth, though, should be perfect.
You would
Why
think
would it
so.
have flaws where it kills a bunch of people?
Well,
out of
I think
nowhere?
that, right. So all the flaws are probably human made, right?
I would think so.
We messed with weather and then we get, tornadoes and certain things in certain times of year. And then you mess with, like earthquakes under the ocean, and then now all of a sudden you've got tidal waves, or what are they called, tsunamis. So, but as far as like learning about germ theory being wrong, I mean that's been helpful to me too, because I did used to look at it like, why would there be these little pathogens that would run around and like try and kill everybody? And now I kind of like, okay, that's not what's happening. There is no little bugs flying around. The COVID bug. There's this, because I used to wonder about that. It was very confusing, but now I see it a different way. So I just don't want to pass too much complete, like say, this is what I believe 100%, because things now are fluid. They do change with new information. Like who would have thought 10 years ago, if you would have heard that germ theory was wrong, you would have thought that was the dumbest thing you've ever heard.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. But now we're at a place where we're like, oh, maybe, maybe. So if the Bible is correct and written by a creator and it is divine, then it is the reason that the world is the way it is. It is it is what has caused the current situation in the world. And if you've got Satan who's in charge of this world, or the God of this world, then we should expect it to be a shit world. But if Satan's in charge, well, how do we have a chance to make it right? Like he would just corrupt more people, or pretend to be an angel of light, or do all the masquerade as an angel of light. Again,
yeah, control the governments and everything. So
Right.
That's why you got to get local.
Right.
You just got to get local and have your small church, they would say, and then just make your community good around you.
Yep, and maybe even communities, like a couple of us have been talking about it, right? So get a big piece of land for 20 people, 20 families.
Yeah.
And we all go in on it, and we rope, and we get a big fence and put it around it, and then it's very simple. From there, come over this side of the fence and get shot. Period.
Yep.
It's not very difficult. But again, the problem with that is that are we just leaving? Then what happens to the rest of the country? But again, if we can't take it over, if we can't, if we're not going to change it, then we have to take the better of
You
the
got
path.
to break away civilization. I think that's the only logical thing. And also, I don't think the government's going to mess with you if you do that. If you just break away and do your own thing and have your own crops and
I have
your
a
own
weird,
people, and I don't
yeah.
think they're gonna come mess with you.
No, I have a weird belief about that. I really think, in a weird way, that they respect those of us who know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's not a hate. I mean, if you go too far, if you try and interrupt what they're doing, it turns into a hate and they'll stop you. But if you just know what's going on, you're speaking about it on the internet, this and that, they're kind of like, all right, congratulations for actually figuring out what we're doing. But I think that they actually give it a little bit of respect for that, because they, I think you need that too. I really do. I think that you always have to have that 10% of people that you can point out and call crazy. So you have Trudeau go out and say, oh, flat earth is so crazy. And you have Obama say, oh, we don't have time for. What that does is it kind of demonizes that 10% that you already know is there. And it really protects the other 90% of wanting to go there. So it's kind of
exactly.
like.
So
like
you
a
keep your
gatekeeping.
system afloat and the majority at all times, because
Right.
you demonize anyone who branches off.
Correct. And then you just be careful it never gets to like a 20%, because I think there's a flip.
Right.
If you
And
get
I
to,
think
like,
they can do that
80-20.
easily. So if we do our thing, they do their thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think do we want 90% of the people to live our way? I mean, I
No,
guess
not at all. And I wouldn't force it on them anyway. But I think that the weird thing is, what I'm afraid of, or what I think would happen is, I think if we bought a big compound or whatever and we went out there, the very first thing that would happen is people would start saying, so where's our cell phones? Be like, oh, we don't do cell phones anymore. They'd be like, what? Yeah, we're not going to. So I think that people they don't even know what they really want, right? Like they don't know. Yeah, you might want a homestead, but if you got out there and there was no internet and phone, would you be okay? You know, that's the question people need to start asking themselves, because we might be forced with those decisions soon.
Eventually, yeah, I think so. Especially if the numbers kept getting bigger and bigger, then the government would say, okay, we're going to cut you off the grid and see if you really want to be on.
Right. And like, I honestly wouldn't mind those things, because I feel like an old soul in a way. You know, I feel like that I use technology and things like that now because I have to. And if I ever had an opportunity to not, I would instantly not. So again, let's say I won $10 million in some lottery. I'm going to find a place to live. I'm going to find a house. I'm going to find a way to put the money. I'm going to get enough stuff to have it around the house. We're going to have a pool. We're going to have fruit trees. We're going to have all this. And then I'm done. Then I don't need my phone anymore. So I don't know if there's a lot of people like that. I think that a lot of people want all the amenities. What do you call it? Amenity?
Yeah. Amenities.
They want all these little gadgets and gadgets.
I think it's nice to have the grocery store literally 2 minutes away from my place.
It's great, isn't it? I mean, the same thing with us. We
There
could
are
walk there.
benefits of the city and of their system. It's just, why does it have to be so evil?
Right. And again, I'm the first one to admit that, like, those things are not evil. I'm not saying we could, we have to get rid of all those things, but I am saying that eventually you would think it would come to that, to where, for instance, like, let's say we don't take the CBDC. Well, eventually there's going to be grocery stores that only take that.
Exactly.
So you're going to have to really start to, what's more important to you, to kind of have, and I think this is what they're doing, and this is why they're winning, is because they've created a luxury life for some, to where you have your phone, you can watch movies on the phone, so no longer are things like car rides that boring. Remember when we were kids? I mean, you're driving a car, you dreaded that. Now it's like, here's your Xbox, here's your, you play it off the screen on the backseat of the car.
Every phone has these apps now with video games on them and everything. Yeah, it's just everyone's face is glued to their phone. You don't even care about what's going on in the world around you, because you have your own little world in your phone, in your hand.
Right. And people then tend to think, and that's a very difficult thing, because we're not intended to really, like, you should basically have to get along with about 20 or 30, 40 people, right? That's how you should have to fit in with those people. Well, on the internet, you all of a sudden have to fit in with thousands, and it's impossible. And so it does cause people to kind of become fractured pieces of themselves, because they're constantly trying to appease crowds, and it's just impossible. There's no one person that can be like, oh, now everybody loves me. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have people that just because everybody does love you, they hate you.
Yep.
Thank you. Amenities. Am I saying that right? Thank you, Sleepy Joe.
Yeah.
Thank you for being awake, Sleepy Joe. Yeah, it's crazy to me. I mean, I would be able to survive. We survive on so little right now, but it's kind of like things are getting more expensive at a perfect rate that's kind of keeping us priced out of anything, right? Like, if I had the money I have now 10 years ago or 5 years ago, it would be in a pretty good shape. But to have the money I have now today, it's not really good.
And if the housing market was like it was 5 to 10 years ago, it'd be good too.
I don't even want to think about that. I mean, the house that I bought in 2011, I bought for $250. and we lost it in what 2015, 2016. Right now, that house is worth $850.
Jeez.
Yep. Pretty upsetting to realize that. But again, what are you going to do? You can't.
So what do you think? Do you think when they release the CBDC, everything's going to crash and everything's going to become cheap again? And they're going to say, yeah, but the only way you can get this cheap stuff is if you have the CBDC.
I tend to believe that they wouldn't be doing all this Russia-Ukraine stuff unless they were going to follow through with that. So I think what happens is eventually Russia drops a so-called nuke on Ukraine, and then they drum up the war, drums, and they'll get everybody in the United States to be like, yeah, we should go to war because he shouldn't be dropping nukes, right? So then, I'm talking about the normies. So then they can get a war off, and everybody will join. You'll have China and Germany,
So
France.
come to American soil?
No, probably not. And then, but I think that what it does is it can kind of bankrupt a lot of countries, and then there'll be this idea of, well, we can't have all these countries bankrupt, and so we have to kind of start over. And then that's the Great Reset. And then they've done that before, like in 1913. Remember, I mean, come out of that, and then you start the income tax, then you start all these other things. 1933, what happened there with the Federal Reserve. So I think it's just a way that, number one, it eliminates people, which they like, right? So they like a death toll. Wars do that. Number two, it scares people. They like that. It gives more reason to have government. They like that. So that's the way I see it going. Because otherwise I don't really understand what the whole Ukraine thing was for.
So why are they saying stuff about like banks failing right now, then?
Because it would be a kind of a combination of perfect. It's a perfect storm, right? It's a perfect storm of everything happening. AI coming out. Like my thought about AI, right? They're going to come out and say that, now we don't know who's who on the internet, so you all need to have digital IDs. So if they have all these things kind of in motion, then when
but
something
there has to be a war to actually put it all through.
I would think so.
Without a war,
I would think so. I can't think of another way that people would believe that everything needs to be kind of reset. But I don't know if you had a country, go to war, and then let's say, I don't know. I guess I've been confused about war anyway. Like, why, when you have a war like the United States against Japan or whatever, or the United States against Germany, if the United States won the war, why aren't we in charge of Germany?
Yeah, Exactly.
So you just defeat them in the war, and they're like, okay, go ahead and build your country back up over there. Like,
yeah, it was never like that before. When the Vikings would raid places, they win, they take their land.
Right.
They got it.
But in our wars, we just we defeat them and then be like, all right, go ahead, start up again.
Yeah, we make them bankrupt though.
I mean, and in reality, why wouldn't Japan retaliate? Like, what kind of world do people think we live in where you can just go drop nukes on supposed nukes on Japan, and then they'd be like, all right, we surrender, you win, and then they get to stay there with all their stuff. They didn't even. What did they lose? They surrendered what? So I don't really get it. Like, and then then they don't retaliate. Like, can you imagine doing that? I mean, if somebody comes and bombs my house, okay, great. And then I go, okay, you win. Yeah, you stop bombing us. Okay, great. We surrender. Well, then the next couple months, I'm gonna be sitting around coming up with the best plan ever. Not just like, never gonna get back at those guys. They defeated us, clean as could be.
Right.
It's like, yeah, if a flip
so
says
you
it's
think that's
all
proof
the
then that all the governments are actually working together?
Well, I wouldn't say proof. I
I
mean, I don't like that word proof, but it's evidence that space race is evidence of that. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And then they're like, oh, Germany gave their equipment to Russia and their people to the United States after the war. It just all seems very strange to me. Like,
yeah, I mean, most people don't see that. I mean, they think even Europe. I mean, I think it's obvious. Like, all of Europe is basically just one nation.
Yeah.
Like, with the United Nations, they all have like the same exact views on everything, or left on everything. Like, what's the difference politically between England and France? Are they all the same?
I would have no idea even what they're. Yeah, I would think it's the same.
And England and Germany and England and Italy, and they all have the same views.
Johnny Freedom says that because you profit on destroying then rebuilding, which is true, right? This is why you have like these rich guys who back both sides of wars, because you always win. So, money makes the wars go around, makes the world go around. So, again, one of the things I think that I changed my mind recently too a lot on things is I think a lot more of this world has to do with money than we think. I think that we've heard as truthers over and over again that they print the money, right? They print the money. Yeah. But it's not quite that easy. It's printing money does have repercussions. It's not like you can just print money and hand it out and everything stays the same. As you print money, the value of the money goes down, and you are basically going to have to pay the piper eventually. So yeah, they can print money, but I still think that getting your money is important, because getting your money doesn't change the value of money, right? So meaning that if they can make you make less money, if they can make you put it back in the system, if they can make you move the economy around, that's all beneficial to them. Printing money is not. Printing money causes the value of money to go down. So they would rather steal from you. They love NASA. Why? NASA pays their contractors who all work in the United States, and then they go pay their taxes and pay for things that go back in the. So that's just a circular jobs program. There's like no net loss there. You're paying people who are developing things, who are inventing things for you, and then that money's going right back into the system, and so the money doesn't get devalued. So I think that we always say they print money, they don't care about money. I think they do care a lot about money, because if the more that they have to print to kind of correct things, the more it becomes obvious of what the inevitability is going to be. How far are we away from that?
They printed more money in 3 years than they did the whole nation's history. But that means they harmed themselves then.
Correct. But they had to kind of save. Yeah, I guess it is interesting. Why would they do that? But it seems to me like they did it because eventually there's something coming. I mean, it's the same reason I have for like why people say, well, what about NASA? What are they going to do when they go to the moon? I'm like, I don't think they'll ever go to the moon. Now, I know they just announced it. And yeah, okay. So they kind of keep kicking the can.
If it's 2120 though, and they haven't gone back to the moon yet? The scam is over, dude.
No, people will still believe it.
You think?
Yeah, I think
that would be so bad.
That would be bad. Be funny.
That would be so bad. That'd be so obvious.
Yeah, I agree with Cappy. Cappy says the Antarctic Treaty, he thinks the war will happen before then. Yeah, I think that actually, there's some, date selections that people have thought, or that there's some sort of cataclysm that they know about. Like let's say this. Let's say there's some sort of cataclysm that happens, and I don't know what that is. It could be a pole reversal, something like that. Let's just say that the poles reverse and you get a big swash of water, like a big wave that wipes out all the land masses. And it's happened numerous times in the past. Let's just say that, and there's kind of evidence of that, right? A lot of running water, Grand Canyon, shells at the top of mountains, things like that. So
let's flipping the disc.
Yeah, but let's just say it's like spinning it. It's like if you took a penny and you rotated it 180 degrees. Okay. So if let's say the magnetics do that, it might cause a worldwide tidal wave or something. But let's say that happens every whatever. Let's just say it's 2,800 years. But it's not exact. So maybe they know something is coming, and this is why they keep kicking the can down the road. As soon as that happens, that'll be the catalyst for what they need. But
so it's a natural phenomenon. They don't make it happen.
I'm not sure. I mean, again,
God-made thing then, though.
Again, I don't know about that. You would think no, but I don't know what. I don't know what to believe about the pole reversal or whatever. That seems very weird.
I just think with HARP, they can do things we don't even know about.
Right. And again, you're going to have repercussions from that, right? Things that would happen, down the road. Maybe something like that, causes now the magnetic thing to flip. And that's where I think it makes more sense to me that there isn't a God that can correct. Well, he can correct it because he's within everyone. So if anything happens, it will be God that did it. But it's if God is on the outside looking in and allowing all this to happen, then I kind of tend to have a problem with it. It's not the people's fault who are being lied to, who are being deceived, who are being enslaved, who have been given false history, who have been given fake religions, who have been given shitty food, that are being sprayed things in the sky, that are given medicine that makes you weak and fragile and sick. Like, that's not people's fault. That is, and I'm not saying it's God's fault either.
But respond to it is, though. You have free will to respond to it how you want. And some people are just horrible.
Right. And some people also just won't even believe that it's happening. Right. People think, what do I mean? I don't know. So again, but my thought is, if God's just on the outside looking in, not that I have a problem with it, because maybe it's a free will world, so you can't do anything. But it just makes more sense to me that God is operating within all of us. And that's why we all have the power to do it. We just don't know how. And we just need to actually trust ourselves more. And we've been convinced not to do that. Oh, everything's an illusion. What you see is an illusion. Oh, that's, you actually don't see what you think you see. You see refraction. So like everything that they do is attempt to make you feel less than perfect.
Yeah. That's why we got to prove the manifesting thing, man. If we could get that to be like a worldwide movement,
yeah, I agree.
Can you imagine if that was like a 1 billion.
But it's weird,
like,
isn't it weird
hashtag
that
on Twitter manifesting, and everyone did it and found out they could do it.
But isn't it weird that it only works with voice? That's what
If you actually say it.
Right. So I did a frozen water test the other night, and I spoke to both, and then put them in the freezer for like 2 hours. Came back, and it was so obvious, so clearly obvious.
Wow.
Did it again, and obvious again. But then I said, okay, now I'm going to do it with thoughts, and I'm assuming the same thing would happen. So this time I poured the water again, but this time I just thought negative things and then thought positive things. And when I pulled them out of the freezer 2 hours later, they were identical.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't think it works unless I don't know what I'm doing. But clearly, it might be something in the vibration of the word, or in the I guess you would call that. I don't know if you would call that cymatics, but and I think it kind of does tie in a little bit to the Bible, and God spoke the world into existence. So again, yeah, I mean, Rune Dragon says they control the markets, right? I mean, this is the problem: is that you can't beat the people who created the game. It just isn't the way things work, right? There's going to always be ways out for them. The other thing that they do a great job of is, even if we like protesting, right? I'm all for protesting, but what they know is that they can make something happen. Then when the protesters go out, they implant their own people into being these,
like
right?
January 6th.
Yeah. So now you've got people acting, and so how can you ever get around that? I mean, this is why it's like impossible to defeat that. You're like, because then they're going to make it look bad to the rest of the country.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, look at these crazy, and then the country demonizes them, and then what are you going to do? So it becomes very difficult. And this is why I think they have the division. If you
have to leave, dude. That's what I'm saying. You just got to leave. That's the only way.
Yeah, because if you have the whole country together, then the government easily gets defeated. But they've set it up now that you hate the other person, right? So like the left hates the right so much that it doesn't matter what Joe Biden does, they'll back him. Just like when Trump becomes president again, the right hates the left so much that no matter what Trump does, they'll like him. So
did you see the I think Ben Shapiro posted it. It's like he did a reaction. There was some black chick where someone asked her, like, so do you like Biden or Trump? And she's like, Biden. She's like, why Biden? He's like, because of unity. Like, he brought us together. It's like, how did he bring us together? And then she's like, he said that if you don't vote for me, then you're not black. And she's a black girl. Mm-hmm. And she thought that brought unity to black people. I'm like, what? That's racism. How's that unity? And she thought it was unity. So it's like, dude, they like you said, they're going to back them no matter what they say. Even if they say racist stuff, they're going to back them.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. And I mean, I saw it firsthand too, when like when Trump was president, there was people calling for like the censoring of people on the left, right? People who were saying like, not my president. People got so mad. You can't say that about a president. You can't say that. That person should be banned. Shouldn't be allowed to talk on social media anymore. Okay. Fast forward to Biden becoming president. Now you've got the people on the right saying everything. And now you got people on the left saying that they should be banned. And now you got people on the right saying, you can't ban free speech. It's like, holy smokes. I mean, this is so bad because and then they almost did it on purpose when they screwed with us. Remember they went straight from COVID to, the abortion,
the mass abortion. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, it exposed right in people's faces that you had the entire right going on and on about, oh no, we don't. Right. And then they just switched and then go into, no, now we can mandate whether or not you can have a medical procedure. And it was like, nobody even noticed. It was like, holy smokes. Like this is, they almost like were doing that as a test to see, will people not even see that they're just being complete and total hypocrites? Total hypocrites.
Do you think people, all right, because you know how you say that we judge ourselves when we die?
Well, yeah, it's God, but yes.
So when people are being hypocritical like that, do you think literally they're just unconscious of it? Or do you think people know, but they're like, nope, this is my side and I'm digging my feet?
No, I think we build up a weird block around our own. It's hard to see yourself, It's kind of like, what do I say?
Why don't we learn that in school?
I know.
Like, I went to psychology classes right when I went to college. I chose all the psychology classes just because, dude, I want to look inward.
Yeah.
And then I was
that's
always
the biggest clue.
My actions, my thoughts, everything.
The biggest clue that where God is because they're going to point everywhere but there. And so they point everywhere but inside you. They tell you it's this pastor, this guru, this movie, this show, this documentary, this book, everything is outside you. You have to go to this, it's never take some time and, look within. And that's where I think that God is. But a lot of us, if we're now 45 years old, we don't even know how to find that. It's not part of our We've never been trained to do that. And then as far as the vaccines go, that's what upsets me too. How far behind are we because of those? I
We
mean,
don't even know, because when was the first vaccine? That was before we were even born.
oh yeah,
right?
like
So
50s
how
or
was life
even
before that?
early 20s.
Yeah, so I don't know how life was before that. I wasn't there.
No, and I mean that's. But one thing that's been exposed by Corona, thank goodness, is that academics lie, or academics are afraid of their jobs, and so they'll just go along with whatever, especially if
Yeah.
they put a lot of years in. So a lot of these things have really helped, but they've also left people in kind of a state of confusion. You just, and that's what's hard. But I mean, it's not confusing for me because I would recognize the different things. If I've got a little chest thing, I'm probably not going to go to the doctor. If I break my arm, I'll probably go to the doctor, right? So
Right.
but how will other people do that? I don't think they can. I don't believe they can.
So when we're judging ourselves, though, we're going to be all knowing about every decision we may ever made, though, right? Even small things like hypocrisy about the my body, my choice.
Say again.
Like when we're judging ourselves when we die,
Mhm.
we're going to be all knowing about every decision we ever made before, right? We'll have full clarity even about the unconscious things, like
I
you
would
were
hope
saying,
so.
my body, my choice.
I would hope so, but I would think that also it could just be as simple as, did you make amends for the wrongs that you did? Maybe all the little details that we're talking about aren't even important at all, right?
I think that's how you judge content of people's character, though. Like the small things, I think are so important.
Small things like what? Like what they believe about
Like
abortion?
people that are openly willing to be hypocrites just to dig their feet in and fight for one side, even when they know they're wrong. But you're still willing to fight for it because that's the side you chose.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I don't know if, yeah, I mean, most people would not admit that that's them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part. Again, you have to trust people to get to some of these answers. And it's like me, when I try and talk to people about, we all have that inner feeling inside. Well, anybody who doesn't like me is going to be, no, I don't have that, no, not everybody. Or if I say like, oh, we all know right from wrong intrinsically, they would say, nope, some people believe that rape is okay. Some people, it's like, no, listen, dipshits, nobody believes rape is okay. Now, can you become a man who gets so obsessed with women, you're like, I'm just going to rape them? Yes, but even that man knows it's wrong. Nobody's doing rape thinking this is right. What I'm doing is right. They think it's wrong, but they're like, I'm going to do it anyway. And then after a while, you might get so used to it that you're no longer even affected by it. But we all had that same initial set of right and wrong and good and bad. And then we've allowed the world and the way that people turn into to be like dictating that, oh, no, that actually doesn't happen. Because Christians believe that their morality comes from the book, which is a crazy, crazy belief.
Now, my dad's one of those people. He thinks that like we wouldn't know right and wrong was never from the book. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I had a guy
You
tell me
feel
that he wouldn't know that he wouldn't know he shouldn't cheat on his wife if it wasn't for the Bible. So he said.
So crazy.
So pretty crazy. All right, I'm gonna let you go. It's been a lot longer than I wanted to go tonight, and I got things to do. But I appreciate you staying on for a little bit. That was fun.
Yeah, it was. Have a great night, man.
All right. It's fun, guys. Let me see if there's anybody in the chat here I need to address. I don't know. I thought I saw my name on here, but maybe not. Divide and conquer. Absolutely. That's their goal. Yep. Rob Glow, when you're ready, get a fine watch. Don't need to be a Rolex. I would like one. Did your accent also kind of draw it in? Oh, sorry. I don't know if this is for me. Sarah, his voice is hard to listen. Are you talking to me? What the hell? That's rude. I hope that's maybe they are talking to me. My voice isn't that bad. Get knocked out? All right. Somebody here says polar shift every 12,000 years. John does. What you think it would cause some sort of a tidal wave or something? Because it does look like, when you talk about mud floods and things like that. I mean, that one wave. Picture a 1,000-foot wave, or something, maybe even taller, maybe 10,000-foot wave. I don't know. But that just goes over the earth once is going to kill almost everybody, except for the people who are probably underground. And it's going to take down a lot of buildings and, the likes. And it would bury it under a bunch of mud. And you would then build the next society on top of that. Again, can I prove any of that happening? No. And can we really stop it? I don't worry about things I can't stop. You don't. No, probably can't stop that. So it's not really worth worrying about. Again, I think that we have to stop the ones in charge. That's the thing. And then everything else is fine. We can't go on. You can't actually fix this system by like systematically taking little pieces of it and fixing that. This system is so far gone. You need to do much more than that. Let me see here if I was going to look at something. Oh, I think in 2 weeks we can probably go through. I have a paper I wanted to read here about the prophecies, because nobody called in. I wanted to hear one person give me one prophecy, but it's all right. We'll get it next time, because I still have not found that one. And I hear people all the time say, "Oh, the prophecies prove that the Bible's." Again, just think about what you're saying. A prophecy coming true. Let's say there's a prophecy written in every chapter of every Old Testament book, giving the exact date and the time for things that happened in the New Testament. You could not prove that that was actual prophecy, and not that somebody wrote the Old Testament, knew what it said would happen, and then orchestrated things to happen at the end. You wouldn't know that. And so again, just because it's end times and the times of Noah, and be careful. Be careful. What we got here? We got to take down. McToon is a sewer? Yes, I believe so. Anybody who controls the banks? The media, government, pharma, social media. Who? I say the big banks are controlled by families. They are the Habsburgs and the Rothschilds and those guys. Amy, think bling bling in the house. Nice. Mr. Plamp says it's regarding their endless and tiresome divide and conquer strays, which appeal to the best of human natures, that they're weaponized. Yes. It's extremely powerful, given our baseline for love, care, and truth. Yeah, and trust, right? I think that we have it in us to trust other humans, and then all of a sudden we're in an era now where people will just lie to your face and tell you that they're princes from Nigeria. That's what they do. Okay, Sarah says, because I know most of the negative I brought into my life spoke into existence. Yeah, I got to work on that, because I don't think, I'll try it again with the thought, but I don't think it works. Hegelian dialectic tactics can only work on a dumbed down populace. Okay, well, Tony, well said, and you're absolutely right. And so now it's like really far gone. Like it happened very quickly. And it's like people don't even see it. It's like the trans thing is just something, it's all these things are like definitely trigger words, definitely put out there on purpose. But then people conform to what they're supposed to. Right? Like, what I'm saying? Like they put these out on the TV so that if you're somebody who's just a heterosexual person, that you then have this empathy for these people because they're putting these sad people, and I'm getting turned down from this and getting, it's so sad. So they're just really good at playing on people's emotions. And then they put it on the ballot and people are like, yeah, I signed up for that. We want gay marriage here. But anyway, anything else here? He has a lot of good stuff to say, but I don't know if that's for me. I like how your voice sounds different to listen back to as when it sounds to you. Haha. Thought I was Barry White, but I was Kevin Hart. Oh, I got you. I haven't tried the AI, like real time, where you can be whoever you want to be. Be funny. Jaren, God is within. Yes, agree. Yep, I do agree. We need to live around our seps. That's your clan, your family. Celtic. Yeah, I agree. So maybe in the coming weeks, maybe we'll do a little sign up where we'll get an idea of, let's just do a mock thing where we go down, we look at Texas, we find, say, I don't know, 200 acres. I don't know, you name it. It could be 20 acres. But let's say we get 200 acres and we look at the price for that and we look at kind of the land and say, okay, for somebody to come out here and build their own house and live on this property would be, $110,000 to build a house. Okay, and then we look at the price of the property and we divide that by the amount of people that are interested, and maybe it's somewhere we can get. Who knows? I think that we have to try, at least to get something set up, and then we just try and find like-minded people and really kind of lay it out. Well, this is what we're thinking it's going to be like there, or do you want to just stay in the cities and continue to be subjected to all this horseshit? Who knows? Let's see what else we got here. Yes. How about when people ask, who is they? I say, they you listen to. Yeah. Well, it's like, again, the who is they is a dumb thing because, like, if there was a murder and you showed up there and you're like,
yes.
Who's that?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much for David. Very kind of you. Thanks for jumping on the show and your support. Very, very kind. What was I saying? Oh, it's like if you were, saying, and they're like, what happened here today? Well, they killed him, and they'd be like, well, who's they? I don't know. We're investigating that. So are you not allowed to say they then? No, you can say they, even though you don't know who killed. You're just saying they. So it's funny. Imagine a new generation of cops all jabbed up. Scary thought. Sarah, all pigs need to be held accountable for their crimes against all humanity. Great guy doing something on that is High Impact Flicks. So definitely watch him. They chased him for 2 or 3 hours. Traffic nonsense. Yes. All right. These tyrannical trade I'm just seeing if there's anything else for me. No, Jaren. I saw no Jaren. No, Jaren talking about archaics. Oh, sorry. Okay, I got you. Okay, well, I don't see anything else. So, what do we have tomorrow? Oh, I do need to tell you this. Tomorrow at 12 noon Pacific, your normal Glowbusters time. It will still be on my channel, but it will not be Glowbusters. It's going to be a debate, a 3-on-3 debate with me as the moderator, Austin Whitsitt, and the 2 TikTok guys, Caleb and Derek, going against Globy McGlobeface, Globy McGlober, and Glober Globy Gloy. Something like that. I don't know. 3 people who have Globy Globe in their name, which is really cool. I mean, if I'm ever looking for like guys to hang out with, I'm like, which guys believe in the globe and call themselves Globy McGlobe? Because that's basically the coolest person I've ever met. So I'm hoping to meet them tomorrow and really become friends with them because they seem really cool to me. That's what I want. A bunch of Globy McGlobes. Thank you very much, Charlie, for the super chat. Very kind of you. We've got the Euphrates River drived up in its first prophecy I can think of. Again, it's something that happens often. It's not the Euphrates River dries up once every 5,000 years. Isn't it like every 100? So this is where there's always these weird things that are like, that's not really what we think it is. So we're trapped in a low dimension simulation and people believe a book is going to save them to get out. Yeah, I know. It's kind of sad. You're close, mate. I'm in Manswood. Oh, sorry. These tyrannical trader. Sorry, I read that. All right, Cappy, I saw one kid. Okay, let me check. Wait, leave us a link for that debate, please. Well, there's no link yet. It's on my channel. So tomorrow at 12 noon, if you go to t.me/Jeranism show, it'll be posted there. But there is no link yet. I haven't made the show yet. But that'll be 12 noon, 3-on-3. Should be quite interessante. What did I just say I was checking? Oh, yeah, I was going to check the tips. I knew I did something. I want to see if we got here. Anything? All right, $10. Thank you very much. Since you did a tip at the Rokfin, we've got Jason Bowles. Again, Jason, you're on some sort of streak. I wish I could give you a little streaker tag. Very kind of you. Thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who is watching over there. Much love to you guys. And thank you everybody at YouTube. Let's see you tomorrow. Again, 12 noon, we'll have the debate. And that will be the Glowbusters for the week. And buy a hat if you could. If you want to see the app is dope. And you can actually watch things for free right now. So go ahead and check it out. It's at trueearther.com. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything else. You can go, where is this right here? No, I don't have time to open. Wait, let me see if I do. I might have lied. Maybe we do. Maybe we do. Let's see. It goes here, here, and properties. No, I'm not going to be able to do it. All right, we're just going to head out. Guys, much love. If you need me, t.me/Jeranism. That's where you can get a hold of me. Oh, yawning is early. Got work to do. I also have a salad to eat that my wife brought me that's just been sitting here, and I need to eat it. Because I am a lard ass. All right, much love, guys. I do appreciate you guys' support. Please share the show if you ever want to. Otherwise, there's no other way to grow. But I really don't care. Even if it's you guys and me, I like to give my opinion, and I think a lot of the things that I've said recently, or at least in the last couple of years, have seemed to pretty much go the way I thought. Not trying to say that I'm always right or anything like that. What does Nathan Stolman say? Always honest, usually right. Right. Can't prove. I can't tell you I'm going to be always right. But I can tell you at least you're getting my real opinions. If you ask me, Jeremy, what do you think about Ashley Babbitt? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? You're going to get my real opinion, and I'll give you the reasons why I believe that. And I don't think we get enough of that from anybody anymore. I think it's the key to growth. It's the key to learning. And now we hate everybody so much. Nobody from the abortion side is listening to anybody on the other side. Nobody on the other side is listening to anybody on this side. Nobody's actually listening to trans people and actually hearing them out. Just like nobody who's trans is listening to, the right, telling them why what they're asking to do is ludicrous. Go into whatever bathroom they want. These kind of things. Just nonsense. What do you mean? Why would you be given permission to do that? So anyway, I'm out of here. Thank you for putting that up on the screen, guys. Something bad will happen to Jaren if he's talking like this. Well, thanks for manifesting that into my life. I do appreciate that. Very kind of you. Let's all collectively think the opposite of that, okay? Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Much love. I remind you, do your own research. When you do, you'll never again believe all the horse shit you've been taught. Till next time, this has been Jeranism, and peace.